Fantastic, fantastic. Hello,
Bing
Janelle.
bong.
Yeah, bing bong. I love that sound. Oh, love
Um,
it, love it.
oh, you do.
Oh, it's magic, magic sound, magic sound.
Bing
Ah,
bong.
had a magical morning, magical morning,
Oh
magical morning.
yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, very powerful, very powerful. Yeah,
that's good.
yeah, 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 very good. Yeah, yeah, powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff. Yeah, people transforming and changing and just growing and connecting to themselves. Just magical power. It's lots of magical stuff.
Yeah, I was
Hmm.
reading some stuff this morning because you're doing whatever your thing. Because I was involved with some like political activist type movements, and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Um, just I think they're good things. That's just
yeah,
me though.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but one of the ladies suggested I join this group. It's called Toastmasters. Have you heard of that group?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I know what it is. Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I haven't really joined it or anything. Uh, she's just like, oh yeah, we all do this group, and I was just reading through the pamphlets, just to kill some time. Um, and I'm like, man, you could set your now Toastmasters has been around for a long time,
yeah.
um, since 1924. They
Right.
said they started this,
Yeah, yeah. It's old.
but yeah, it's very old, but it sounds really, really similar. And it's not the same, but there's similarities to what we're doing,
Oh, I see.
uh,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
what they're doing.
Right,
Um,
right. They are focused on getting on public speaking. That's their main key.
yeah, it's mainly public speaking, but I just seen like underlying stuff.
Ah,
Um, like
I
it's
see.
called pathways. It was just interesting the terminology.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's really one of the benefits of wave impeccability,
uh-huh.
because it focuses on overview perspective and seeing
Hmm.
the abstract of things. It
Yeah.
enables a connectivity, and then we start to see wave impeccability in everything. And this is one of the intents of the program, because now you start to connect the world and you see the similarities and then you see the magic. And this is a fantastic way of living and seeing the world. It really makes things so much simpler to see all those connectivities and those similarities and the magic. It's fantastic. It's
Well, because one of my little re- realizations or whatever, um, and I posted it. Sometimes I forget what I even say, but
yeah,
I said something along the lines how um, we're wanting to create like communication as a pathway,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I seen them use that term, and I'm like, well, that's kind of
Right, 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 right.
what we're
And that's
doing.
the thing, people. I have. I don't know if I shared it with you, but in
I
one
don't
of the
know.
Biala stories, there's a big section about communication, and specifically in regard to public speaking. And I'll send you the little tips from it. It's just, when we
Yeah.
can shift perspective. Most people they get nervous about public speaking, because they relate it to performance. If you think of it as a performance, then it's difficult. Then you've got to rehearse and practice. But if you think of it as communicating and sharing your point, what is it that I want to say? Am I passionate about this? Is there something meaningful to me? Oh, yes, it is. If you're
Right.
really passionate and something is meaningful to you, you don't have any shyness in saying it. You
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
say it. You want to get it out there. It's not a problem with
Yeah.
coming out. Then public speaking becomes easy. Now you say, oh, I've got an opportunity to say what I really, really want to say. Becomes easy. Becomes easy.
Right. Yep.
No
Hmm.
problem. Very simple. Very simple. Very, very simple.
It was just interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Very powerful. Very powerful. And Janelle around. I heard her earlier.
Yeah, she's tired though. She doesn't want to talk.
Oh, I see. She's listening. That's okay. That's at
No,
all.
I got my headphones in.
Oh, I see. Oh, I was
I
wondering
can.
why you were so loud. I had to turn the volume down a bit. You on the using the microphone
Yeah,
in
I
the
got this one right here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
she's going through like a healing
Good,
crisis right
good,
now.
good, good. All right, no problem,
Just-
no problem, no problem, no
So I'm
problem.
just hanging out.
Yeah, No problem. All right. So did you guys finish session 1, module 3? So module 1, 3. Dang it.
Yeah, I think we went over that last time.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I think so. Or wait, you wrote down.
I have everything right here.
Yeah, let me see your notebook. Yeah.
Hold on.
Where did you end the?
Hold on.
It wasn't a lot. It was just a little bit. But
Oh, it's pages.
the end, the rest of it.
We didn't send personal notes.
What's that?
It's 2 pages, but there's some personal notes in there that you and me talked about.
No, I mean like the rest of module 3 that we had to finish.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 pages.
Yeah, because that's just some personal notes. Look at the date.
So we didn't go over this yet,
No.
huh?
No.
Belief bubble.
That the first 2 were there from the prior time.
Oh, I'm like, I think we went over that.
No, that's the only
It's okay.
thing.
We can go over it again. That's I love going over stuff again. It's always powerful.
So these are like combined notes.
Yeah.
This is the end of session 3.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And then did you guys do module 2, session 1?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, good. All right. So we're hearing on.
We
I love this. I love this. Hello, Bina. Hello, Bina. Before you go, let's say hello to Bina.
Hello.
So magical
Hello,
Bina.
Ryan.
Hello.
Hopefully Janelle is also here. So, hello, Janelle.
She can't hear you. I'm on.
He's on the
Okay.
headset. Janelle's
Okay.
just a little low energy, so she's
Yeah.
kind of chilling today a little bit. So,
Yeah, she's relaxing.
yeah. Good. Good. Energy
She has to.
management, very important.
You gotta remember, she has to deal with 3 kids, a little baby, and
Oh,
cook.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Oh.
a big baby. That was a good look,
Yeah.
Ryan. That was a good look. That was excellent. That was excellent. Of course, I was meaning Pierce or Bridget. You know. So.
Right.
No, not Bridget.
Juliet.
Juliet. Gosh, I'm
Yeah.
thinking Shakespeare. Shakespeare. Where did I come with Bridget? Juliet. Yeah.
We have a neighbor named Bridget.
Ah, interesting. I was just talking to
But-
my neighbor called Billie Jean. One of her twin.
Oh.
And her twin's name is Cinderella.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
That's
Did
a
you hear
good
that
name.
part, Pina?
Oh, yes. No, you just shared her name.
Oh
I didn't
no,
know
she said
about
her twin, and
twin
they're
name.
not identical twins, but she says, "Oh, thank goodness." So I said, "Oh, I'm hearing that you are
Oh.
really thrilled that your name was Billie Jean and not Cinderella." And she said, "Yes, she likes being Billie Jean." It's just
Yes.
just capital H hearing. I was just practicing it, so that's why I don't know if Donna was on when we were still on for that. But anyway, I thought I would go into it because it was very instructive in terms of application of not just capital M hearing, capital H hearing, but of connectivity and moreness. And also, just while I'm on this, so I went on a little walk while we were on Zoom a bit earlier, in between earlier and now. So I took a little break on a walk, and it's magical little walks from where I'm at. I mean, I can go in pretty much any direction, and there's a different walk, right? It's just really fantastic. So many different walks, right, Bina? It's just incredible. So this way, I didn't know there was a walk there. I just went, yeah, and I don't think we finished with them yet. So I just crossed over the street. I said, it looked like a driveway, but I said, sort of, not quite sure. But it is actually a little road, but it's a very short road. But as I went just up a little bit, I don't know, 20 yards maybe, and there's this little brick path along the side of the mountain, because we're on a mountain, right? So on a little brick path laid out, and it's like, wow, this is a really magical little path. Where does this go to? So, okay, I'll go down it. And the path goes down, and it went around a little corner, and there was this magic house there. And, I found all the stuff. But I said, man, this is something else. And when I was coming back from this walk, there was a neighbor. She was in her yard and over the fence. I said, oh, hello. And I don't know, just kind of started talking. I think she asked me something, or I don't remember how the conversation started. But then it led to a real long conversation, big interaction. Really got to know them. But this is something that I'm practicing, very deliberate application of a very specific, deliberate thing that I'm practicing. I'm Ryan. I'm pretty sure you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, right? Bina, how
Uh
about you?
huh. Yeah.
No.
Not with Bill Murray and Andy McDowell. Okay. It's a powerful movie, and it's really one worth watching. So what happens in this movie is he wakes up every morning at exactly the same time, and his day is the same, right? And he has this. He's a broadcaster. They're doing Groundhog Day, which is it's a little ceremony thing in I think in Philadelphia. They look at the groundhog and whatever, and they determine the weather that's coming. Anyway, but that's
Oh,
an irrelevant
yes,
part of the
yes.
story. Oh, you know the story now. Okay.
Yeah.
But so what happens is he wakes up and he starts repeating his day. But then he's kind of realizes that he's actually in love with his fellow broadcaster, Andy McDowell. Okay, and now he sets about wooing her, and each day he refines his procedure. Now he's going from being a complete knucklehead jackass, just self-absorbed, selfish, into himself, and he has to transform himself in the course of a day to win her and love her. Okay, and this is the movie. It shows you each iteration of how he keeps refining it and refining it. So in other words, he's looking to go from a 0 to 100 in one day. That's essentially the theme of the movie, right? And he does it by iteration. Now I want to practice going from a 0 to 100 in terms of interactions with people. And that's what I was doing with Billie Jean. I went right from a 0
In
to
one
100
go.
in one conversation. If I had more time, I had to go because I had to go to the bathroom and come back here for the Zoom. But if I just spent that time, I could have gone anywhere with that conversation, right? You saw that in that conversation, right, Bina?
Yes, yes.
I was hearing all intimate things about her life, her experience. I know if I put together all the information that I got there, I pretty much know everything about her already. She gave me
Wow.
all the clues and tips and hints. Yeah. So it was a 0 to 100 conversation in literally what, 10, 15 minutes, right, Bina?
Yes, yes. Not
So
more
it's
than
a good
15
skill to
minutes.
practice because we're under this impression that we can't go and get into profound conversations very quickly. We think that those are special circumstances and you can't just do it with strangers. No, absolutely not. I pretty much went right in. I said one or two things and I just boom, and it just opened her up. And the next thing we had this deep conversation, right, Bina? Very magical. So it's a profound skill to practice. I'm
Yes.
saying that's what, because we talk about this a lot. Like Bina, you come on and our question was, what is your mood? Instead of saying how are you, say what mood did you choose today? But also the other question, what intent did you set to apply today? As Bina does this on a regular basis. She wakes up every morning and she says, this is what I'm going to work on today. This is what I'm going to apply today. This is what I'm going to practice today. And it's an incredible thing that Bina does. So every day when we come on Zoom, Bina's working on something. She's practicing it. She's implementing it. She's applying it. She's connecting it. She's figuring it out. She's thinking it through. And it's really been massively transformative in many ways, right, Bina?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
this is so I was just thinking to share this with you as something that I work on a continual basis. And it's something I've been doing for so long. It's kind of, I don't even think of it consciously anymore. But in this case, I do it with everybody I meet, but with her now, with this Billie Jean, I remembered that I'm doing it, and I did it very more consciously and deliberately because we were on Zoom still at the time. I said, oh, this will be a good mechanism for exemplification to share my learning and my growing and my development, my practice. This is not. We do this together, the way of impeccability. So I thought it was just a magical opportunity, nice gift from the universe. So that's very cool. That's very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really something that we can. I mean, the underlying logic of this is to step outside of our beliefs, of conventions of what could be and how things can transform, and those expectations of the convention that we've been taught to believe. Things don't have to work the way we think they does. The world does not work the way we think it does, and neither do we. That's the takeaway. That's what allows me to get into a whole entirely different conversation, that is not a typical thing that you would expect just with a stranger. So to go from 0 to 100, in other words, it's unhooking from expectations. And of course, there's cueing involved, there's integrity involved, there's genuineness, there's listening, there's paying attention. Like when she said, "Oh, my twins," and her name's Cinderella. Thank heavens, she said, Oh, it was an anomalous comment, but by implication that, thank heavens, her name is not Cinderella. Very exciting. Very exciting. All right. So just a little sideways going there, just a little share while you were eating, Ryan. Ryan is going to share more of the repeat backs and takeaways from Module 1, Session 1 on our prime motivation and awareness. That's that session.
Yeah.
So we want to hear all about the awareness. We heard about you and Janelle's motivation and how it connects to awareness. So keep going. Keep going.
Hold on a second.
You can share the beginning takeaways again, just to bring Bina into the loop. She wasn't here last time.
Yeah, kind of where we ended was with a belief. We kind of came up with that belief bubble and independence of being.
Right. And also you came to your motivation was you and Janelle's. We put it together.
Hold on. Sometimes I have a hard time reading my own handwriting.
Yeah. Go write slower, Ryan. Write slower. Write more deliberately, and then it'll be more legible.
Yeah, that's my problem. We had an intent. I don't know what specific motivation.
The one about pleasure.
Oh, pleasurable results.
There you go. There you go. So, and then in order to get your pleasurable results.
Yeah. Here we go. I wrote intent instead of motivation. That's why I got tricked there.
I got you.
So, our intent or motivation is to attain appropriate pleasurable results using tools of awareness.
There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. That's incredible. So share some more about what your takeaways and repeat backs from the session.
One of my other intents that came from that was to be born again or give birth to myself. I don't know if we talked about that specifically. It's more of like a spiritual thing.
Yes.
And
that's interesting. You're not the only one. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, just somebody else said it. I can't remember who now, but somebody else used those exact same words.
Sue?
Oh wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And then I want another intent is
Ryan, sorry, before you go further, what does that mean for you? The spiritual rebirth. What does that mean?
It's a pretty deep technical thing to me.
That's what I want to hear.
Well, the concept was, I came in contact with that concept, at a young age through religion, obviously.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be born again? This is one of the questions that's asked in the Bible. One of Jesus' disciples asked him, what it means to be born again. And he talks about being born of the Spirit. So not until later in my life, when I went through all these crisis situations and everything, did I find out that we have a separate body from our physical body. It's a spiritual body. But it starts out just like this physical body is like a seed or a little point of light. And it actually has to grow in a womb, just like this body. And then it goes through a physical or an actual process of being birthed.
Wow.
It's like our physical body. So this body is built, but we're the ones who build it. The spiritual body is built by us. Yes. And that's why I said, I want to give birth to myself.
Yes. I agree with you 100%.
Because I'm in the process of...
Yeah,
because Jesus talks about building a temple built without hands, or a body, which our body's a temple. So we are in the process of building the spiritual temple and giving birth to this new body. But what I've learned from like Gnostics and sages and all that, this isn't something that happens quickly, and it isn't even something that happens in one lifetime. But this is a process that requires multiple lifetimes to achieve.
Yes. Yes.
So it's a long-term type process. It's ongoing. It's development,
Yes,
it's a
correct,
development
correct.
process. Yeah.
And just a quick jump in here.
Mhm.
That's why we like the term spirit warrior.
Yeah,
This is
right.
what we are talking about. This is the development of your spirit, your connectivity to spirit, the
Mhm.
merging of the two, the interconnectedness of the two. This is precisely what we are about. But we don't want to just do this willy-nilly and randomly and without strategy and without sensibility, without purpose, without deliberateness, without impeccability, integrity, everything else. That's where the warrior part comes in. That's why we like the term spirit warrior. Vina?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, as Ryan shared, that giving birth to ourselves again. Is it an intent that we are setting? Okay, we are going to give birth to ourselves, or we will allow ourselves to get birth again, rebirth again.
Oh, good question. Wow.
Well, yeah, I believe that is more accurate. We are allowing ourselves. It's almost like it's a cooperative process, though.
It goes together.
It's You know what I mean? We are allowing, but we are acting at the same time. So I would say us and spirit are co-laboring together.
Yes.
We're working as it's a
Yes.
partnership. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Oh, yeah.
So you know what I mean? So we're not just sitting back and just kind of
Oh, we hear you.
laying here and doing nothing. It actually requires a huge amount of sacrifice.
An effort, yes.
Yeah, a
Focus,
huge amount of effort.
deliberateness.
Actually, it's the hardest thing you can do, I believe, in the entire world.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Like-
seems like.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that yes, it seems like, because it is not something, because once we allow ourselves, or once we do give birth to ourselves, it means that it's no more our older self, and we have to get like kind of give up on that, which is not an easy thing. So it's giving or getting rebirth again is a huge deal.
Yeah.
All your beliefs, all your ideas, all the perspectives, and all your not only beliefs, but also your ego and self and everything involves in that.
Ryan.
Belongings. Yeah. Wow.
What?
Wow. Yes, Bina. Yes. No, I'm just following on. Bina's pulling up things in me. So my question then would be, taking from what Bina's saying is, would you say that this birth of spirit and self, it also involves the unbirthing, as it were, of our old stuff, of the where we're at now?
Yeah, if you want to call
Yeah.
that self you.
There you
know what I
go.
mean?
There you go. There you go. The unhooking from the self that isn't really us. Yeah.
Right, and that's the terminology. It gets tricky when you say I, me, you.
Yes. Yes. I is more than one. Exactly.
Yeah, because I think I is actually another word for the Iliad or the ego or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Wow.
So when we say I, we're actually referring to the ego.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So you're just saying my ego.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
I've heard somebody they train themselves to say we instead of I.
Yes. The royal we.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Not really easy or really a mundane thing. It's a different perspective, and it's a very comprehensive and profound one. Honestly, it's a bit like I'm feeling like, wow, okay. I need to at
Yes.
pause before even just thinking about
Yes.
all these things.
Yes. Right. That's one little quick point here. It's difficult for us to unhook from using words like I, but we can use it and say, when I say I actually mean my real self, my more self, or sometimes I mean my ego, to know that we don't always mean the same thing when we say I.
Mm-hmm.
So we can associate I with different meanings, and then that helps us to overcome the limitations of the word I.
What about when we're communicating to other people?
Then you can use your cueing and you can say, okay, and I'm talking about my ego side here. And then they say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I understand. So we just qualified. Okay, I'm talking about my spirit side. Okay, then they
Right.
understand. So we just qualified every time. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Very helpful
Mm.
in communications. Yeah.
Interesting. I had a pretty deep conversation with my neighbor
Noisy
yesterday.
neighbor?
Well, he was my neighbor, and I grew from the time I was 11 years old till 22 years old. He was my neighbor. So for a long period of time, he was asking a lot of questions about a post that I posted that has to do with the way of impeccability.
Ah.
I had to like practice listening and responding.
Oh.
So that was an interesting thing that
Fantastic.
happened.
Every
Good.
single post requires, like, it needs a lot of time to read and reread and reread, and then you can have your perspective and you can share and you can ask questions. So all your posts are amazing.
Yeah, it was. He kept asking a bunch of questions, and at first I was having an okay time answering them, but then he kept asking more and more and more and more and more, and
Good.
it started to become difficult. Just because it was a lot, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I didn't have all the
You got to
answers.
say, wait, let me pause here. I love your questions, but I really got to think about them. So let me get back to you on that. So pause yourself to say it to the person. I got to take a big power pause here because there's so much and it's all compounding. I have to go back and think about this. So let me get back to you.
Here, let me ask you the question he asked me, because I'm just interested to see what you guys think.
Me too.
So this is on the post. Originality and creativity are essential tools for building an effective communication pathway, which leads to appropriate, pleasurable results. That's what I said.
Yes, I love that post. I commented on it. Yeah.
And he said, his question was, so what direction would you go with someone who struggles with creativity and lacks originality? And I was like, you know what I mean?
Question. Yes.
I was like,
yes.
So this is what I said. I don't know if it could have been said better. I said, I would guide them through a process of applying strategic ways of being to encourage the growth of their self-awareness, which gives birth to originality and creativity.
Yes.
Would that be
Beautiful
something?
answer, Ryan. Yes. Now,
I had to think about that one for a minute.
it's fantastic.
like,
And the thing is, you're sharing a path that isn't a telling path. You're sharing and options and openness.
Right.
And so this is it. This is really
well.
fun.
See, that's and that's what I'm trying to practice. But it's difficult. It is difficult at first to respond that way because I don't get many opportunities to actually practice with someone outside.
Yes. And
But,
it was a gift. He was a gift. This neighbor.
Yeah.
Gift. What a gift. Yeah.
But he kept eventually. But at the end, I went back to the telling way of responding.
It's practice. That's the thing. It's practice, practice, practice. Every time, practice.
So it's difficult to stay in that through
Yes, yes.
like I would like to. I guess one of my
It'll
new
come.
intentions.
It'll come.
I would like to be able to have a full conversation with someone,
Yes.
staying in that mode. I
It'll
guess
come,
you see what I'm
Ryan.
saying?
It will come.
Yeah.
It's just practice. It's just practice. You know, I love it, man. So magical. It will come. It will come. It will come.
Yeah, but I was surprised. I'll say this. This is a good. I was surprised by my answer.
Oh, because you thought about it and you trusted
Yeah.
that it will come. You trusted
Yeah.
that it will come. Oh, I can't find that post now. Maybe it wasn't in the group.
I shared it with the group, I
I
think.
thought so too, but I can't.
Well, he didn't comment. He didn't comment on the group one.
Yeah.
You got to go to my personal page and look at that one. But and then you can see the interaction. But and then I said something. So this program must be working. That's all I'm saying, because what did I say the other day? Her brother was talking to us on the phone, and he was talking about an interaction with an old friend. And what did I say? I said, Janelle laughed at me and made fun of me for saying this. I was just sitting there and I said, that's a self-evident sensibility. And
fantastic. Fantastic.
And but she said the way I said it, she's like, oh, are you like some philosopher now?
Oh, yes, you are.
You are a philosopher, Ryan. You are.
Look at your posts. You are.
And it was super. I think it's kind of funny because I don't really view myself that way. But Janelle was laughing at me. She was making fun of me.
That's okay. That's okay. She was loving you. She was loving you. That's
right.
But
she just,
your posts are amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. Janelle, in her own way, is just making sure that the old ego and self-importance doesn't overcome you again. Because it's very easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's kind of saying, "Hey, that's magnificent, but just kind of stay within yourself. Don't run away with yourself." So that's magical. I love that.
I'm doing the best I can.
Oh, I know, Ryan. I know. And this, Bina and I were chatting about this, and we love this about you, man, and we love you for it. It's just an incredible thing what you do. Your earnestness and your ability. It's just a beautiful thing. It's really special. So.
Yeah, I think it'll. Yeah, I think I'm going to do good with this. Yeah, I think so.
Trust yourself, Ryan. Trust yourself. And
right.
allow your moreness to come. In other words, really work on setting that intent to surprise yourself. That when you get called upon to say more than what you think you know, trust that you will.
Right.
When you get asked by the universe to share more, trust that it will come.
Okay, you're right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's I've had the hardest time with that. That's probably been my biggest struggle throughout my whole life, is doing that.
Trusting your mind.
Yeah, well, because like what you call it, the inner bureaucrats are always like, no, that's not right. Don't say that.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, trust it. And this is the point of impeccability. When we trust our impeccability, when those things come up, you run it through the filter of impeccability. You can say, oh, is this impeccable? Can I stand behind this? Does this fit with my conscience? Is this giving due respect to the question? Yes, it is. Ooh, okay, boom, there it goes. Right? Very powerful. But also we're trusting in our moreness. We are trusting that we have a moreness. You, Ryan, in your schooling and the way you came up and your father and all this, the world has been trying to tell you, no, you're stupid. You don't know anything. You're nothing. No, and that's absolute rubbish.
Right. Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, little parts of you bought into that, and it tried to overcompensate. And that's where your ego came in. It tried to overcompensate, and then you led to this imbalance, right? You didn't get the realness, so you became topsy-turvy, you became top-heavy, right? And then you toppled a couple of times. Yeah? So now all you have to do is to say, hey, I got to go a little bit. I've got my moreness, and my moreness is my moreness. I'm going to go slowly. I'm going to build myself one freaking brick at a time.
Because I can.
Exactly. I'm assuming you have seen bricklayers building brick houses, right? You see how they do it, and there's that skill, and when they do that bottom row, right? They take that first row they are very exquisite and very precise and very
Mm-hmm.
detailed, because what comes on, if you don't build the bottom, like the same thing, you know about foundations. If you don't build the foundation right, you can't build a proper house. So this is what we
Well,
are
then the
doing.
top's going to be all out of whack.
Exactly. And this is what we are doing. We are building our foundations one brick at a time, one precise, bit of concrete at a time. We are being super careful and deliberate. That way, we have complete trust in our foundation, so that we know when you get to those top bricks up there, man, the guy's not even looking what he's doing. There's, get the guy at the bottom tosses that brick up, and he slops that cement on and the mortar on. And he puts the brick, and it's very fast, right? It goes quicker and quicker as they go up.
Right.
Because he has confidence in what went before. He trusts his foundation, that first row, and this is what we are doing. When we so solid in our foundations and we work it out, we think it through to the end. Say, I know my truth because I've worked it out to the end. It's not based on belief. It's based on now what to me is a self-evident sensibility. No belief required. So I know I've proven myself to me, my house is solid. Now I can build the stuff. Now I can trust that what will come from my foundations, my house will build itself, as it were. And this is a very magical house we're building. It's a house of the M1S of Ryan that you're building. It's an incredible thing. But it requires some patience and deliberation. And this is why doing each session and module, doing it thoroughly, doing it properly, doing it all the way through, doing the repeat back. Very important, that repeat back. Then doing the takeaways, then adding the points to your dictionary of power. There's a real sophistication, a layered sophistication, multi-layered power to doing it that way. It has many benefits. Very important. Very important. So, and again, each thing, we get that clarity of intent. We understand the necessity for awareness in order to achieve our motivations and our goals. Right? And I'm saying this specifically, to achieve our motivations. Motivation doesn't always come by itself. We have to achieve it sometimes. And for that, we need awareness. We need to have awareness of our intents. Then when we know what we want, we are clear on our intents, then the motivation can come to apply them and implement them. But of course, we don't want to apply them just without knowing what the hell's going on. We need awareness to make our things happen. So yeah, it is really when we get excited about developing awareness, when getting awareness is our motivation, it automatically leads to the other motivations and energizing and energy and all that. It's very powerful. Very powerful. So here's the thing, Ryan. Our learning process here. Whatever point you come to, if you're not fully at the end of really understanding it, getting it, knowing it, really having complete command of it, don't continue until you finished with that particular point that's sitting on your brain. Keep going until you are fully comfortable with it. I don't care how many times you're going to have to, take that brick and you put it on. So no, it didn't quite work. And you take it off, you scrape off all that mortar and you do it again. I don't care how many times you do that. You keep going. You might see, oh, you check the brick out. Oh, it's got a crack. No. Next one. No. I don't care how many bricks you throw away. You only can lay that brick when the brick is solid, right? Right. Sometimes you get a bad load of bricks from the brick factory, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of having one bad brick in 100, you get one good one in 100. It happens.
Oh yeah, it does happen. Oh yeah.
I've seen it where people just said they sent the whole load back after a while. They said, no, this is crap. Sorry, take the whole load back. It's just wasting our time here now. So yeah. Very powerful, very powerful. So, but for you in particular, Ryan, I'm saying this: make sure you are absolutely scrupulous about being fully comfortable in your understanding. That you've come to really have a full, thorough, complete understanding that you can know this thing from forwards, backwards, inside out. And take your time. There's no hurry on this. Take your time. This is very important. This is very important. I know we're eager to learn, but for me, I'm a very slow learner, Ryan. Truly. I take forever to learn some things. Exactly.
Yeah, me too.
That's why I'm sharing it with you, because likewise you're a slow learner. Same with Cher too. She really, like all those posts of hers. I mean, they take hours for her to write those posts. I mean, she puts a load of work into those posts because she's thinking it through. She's kind of figuring it out. She's resolving it. She's coming at it from this way, that way. She's pulling it, stretching it, testing it. You know, like when she's making a garment. And when you finished with the garment that you've made, you kind of tug on it, you pull on it, you know, you test it. That's what we got to do with our understandings. It's very important. Bina does the same thing. You got to hear when Bina, when sometimes we'll like read posts together, and I have Bina read it, and she'll read it like she's reading it to herself. You hear kind of an inside talk of how she's figuring it out. Oh, it's the most exquisite thing to hear that, how she kind of comes at it from the, it's like, oh, let me see, wait a second, I got to go back. She reads it again. As a matter of fact, I think we can do some reading. We will hear some more a little bit later. We'll actually do that because we were busy and then we got interrupted. So we'll do that a little bit later. It'll be a good exercise. Good exercise.
Okay.
So share some more of your points there,
Yeah,
Ryan.
I guess where we
I just want
continue.
to say too, look at how attunement is essentially making you and Janelle's taking of the program very slow.
Right. Yes.
It's breaking it up. It's saying it's not always time. That's okay. As long as you don't let go of it. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Just because we've got a lot of time, let go of it. Take the time to think about it, to rethink, to refigure it out, to go back over it, to own it, and really work it out fully.
Yeah, I told that to Janelle today. I said, you know what? For the way of impeccability, it should not be an 8-week program.
It isn't. It isn't. It isn't, Ryan. It's a minimum. It's a minimum of 8 weeks. So yeah.
It should be like a minimum. It should be a minimum 8 months.
Right, I got you.
I say, like I believe, because there's no way. It's impossible to get everything in 8 weeks. It's just.
Right. But what typically happens with those who go through it in that time period, they come back and redo it.
You have to. Yeah, you have to.
Oh, yeah. They come back and redo it. So, yeah.
Like each module, like you could do these 8 modules and it literally could take a year if you do it right.
Correct,
you know what I mean?
You can do a month or even a year on a module. Absolutely right. These are lifetime things. They are lifetime. The way of impeccability is a lifetime program. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Not just a life change program. It's a lifetime program. Yes.
It is.
Bina, will you write that down, please, in our way of impeccability things?
Write it down.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay.
Bina's
life.
Yes. Way of
because
it's a lifetime program.
Because it has to do with personal development, you know, and that's.
Correct.
I mean, it's like multiple lifetimes.
Yes. Yes. I love it, Ryan. And I love that you are taking it slow. This I really, really appreciate. And this is a very big deal that you are doing it thoroughly. This is absolutely essential. And in your pace, your slowness, but you never let it go. It's not like you're setting it aside and no, it's always in your mind. You're thinking it comes up in your conversations, it comes up in your doings. You're replying all of the time. You're allowing your inside to turn it over, to work it up, because you are exceedingly impeccable in this thoroughness of understanding. You've come to realize that when you have unfinished thoughts and beliefs, they get you into trouble. Every single time when you don't take it to the end, you end up believing something, and then you go down this path. Somebody asks you the questions, and then it implodes and collapses because you can't answer it because you never took it to the end yourself. But with this friend, you had gone proceeding, so you were able to give him the answer. Yes, there was more on top of that, but you haven't had sufficient time to practice your expression of it yet and full application. But that answer that you gave him, that was an answer of moreness. That was a real deep answer of moreness. Yeah,
after it came out, I felt really good about it. You know.
Yes, yes. And then you were in that position. Let me guess this, right? I try not to say my beliefs, but yeah, I'm going to share a belief because I want to test myself, right? So I feel that at that point, you were at a situation, whoa, what I said was really cool. Wait a second. I got to go back and think about myself, what I said, and kind of and think about it and kind of figure it out and relearn from myself what I said. Yes?
Exactly.
Like it was almost a new thing that like somebody else had said it, but you said it.
Right. I didn't. I'm like,
dang.
Yeah.
It's like, dang, dude, that was cool. Let me go back and rethink about this and own it.
Right.
But this is an important point. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I said that because,
Yeah. So make this effort, Ryan. Go back and claim it and own it and think it through and say, man, Ryan, you said something. In other words, you got an answer from your spirit self.
Right. Because like my old self would have said some stupid shit. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man.
Right. But you trust
Yeah.
it in the mornings. But it's important
Right.
to own that, to really go into that statement and now really make it your own, where it came kind of from your deep self. You want to make it your conscious self as well. So it's like,
Right.
oh, what am I talking about here? What do I mean here? What's the layeredness? What's the implications? What's the connectedness? What's the fullness of this? And then you say, oh, damn, dude, Ryan, yeah, you actually got some moreness in you. Whoa, well, yeah, well, you are kind of a philosopher. Oh, yeah, well, okay, yes, I'm proof. All right, okay, this is only one thing. Doesn't make me a philosopher. One philosopher goes to, okay, fine, cool. But there's more where this came from. I'm owning it. I'm going to keep going. I want more of this. But I also want to understand what I am saying to myself. I want to know it. I want to own it. I want to own it fully, thoroughly, forwards, backwards, upside down, sideways, skewways, every kind of way you can think of. I want to know it. I want to own it. I want to be able to consciously and deliberately share this.
Right.
That's awesome. So that
I do want that.
that becomes like your meditation now.
Mm.
To take that answer and really meditate on it, and till you can you can unpack it from every different which way. Like when you have a little piece of machinery and you can take it apart and you can reassemble it, and sometimes it doesn't come out exactly the same way, but it works again, right? And you can do this in many different ways. So you want to be able to put this thing back together so that it works in a whole multiple different ways, and that you can assemble it from the top down, from the bottom down, everything. Very, very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Yeah, I do want
That's
that.
a very powerful meditation. I mean, discuss it, go over it with Janelle, and have Janelle explain it back to you. You explain it back to Janelle. Really get into this. This is something very special. Very special. Those communications from ourselves, very, very powerful and special.
Yeah, I think he's possibly interested in maybe talking more about what we were talking about. And,
Yes, of course he is. Of course he is. Of course
I,
he is. Of course
I
he
think
is.
I piqued his interest into because how I was speaking. I think he's wanting to know, like, well, how did I learn how to talk that way?
There you go. There you go. So Ryan,
I'm evangelizing, I guess.
Yeah, that's all good. I love it, man. It's no problem. Just do so with your own integrity always intact.
Right.
That's it.
There's no agenda, right? There's no agenda.
Of course not. But in terms of how you are sharing, and why I say this is because this came up with Cher. Cher being a writer, and she was in a previous program, and they kind of not stole, but they started using the things that she was saying and without attributing them to her, and it was kind of, but you're just taking my stuff and palming it off as your own, and it really bothered her. And then it bothered her when she found herself in a situation where she's sharing and writing, and the wave impeccability stuff is coming, and it's like, yeah, but this is not my own. I said, no. Please don't feel that. Shift it. If you own it, let's just take this term, way of impeccability. You're welcome to use it as much as you like, and you're welcome to use it as your own, only if you've made it your own.
If you're right,
and you know it inside out, it doesn't belong to me. Yes, okay. It is this way, but it doesn't matter. You use it if it's your own, but don't use it if it's not your own. That's all I'm asking.
Well, that's the same as like there's laws against that. It's called copyright laws.
Yeah, plagiarism specifically.
Plagiarism. Yeah.
Right.
They teach you that in school.
Exactly. And with her writing, she was very concerned about plagiarism. But I said, in our case, I am giving you from this terminology, because some of it, the way we use it now, dictionary of power, you could say that's unique to us. Okay, those are sort of copyrighted. But I said the concept, and this is actually legally true. You can't copyright the concept. You can copyright the expression of the concept.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So the concept that belongs to everybody, right? So I said, understand the concept. then you can say it in any way you like. And we came up to a word, she couldn't remember the word anticipation, the conception, because it just didn't gel and resonate. So we kind of explored around and said, oh, forecasting. That clicked for her. So in her dictionary of power, it's now forecasting with the application kind of in brackets rather than the other way around. In my dictionary of power, I added forecasting as an addition to anticipation. So for sure, but I said, take this with all the terms, make them your own. Sometimes you won't actually find your particular expression and you can't force to use that same one. Doesn't matter. If you make it your own, it becomes your term, not my term. So there isn't any my terms in this. But if you're going to use terms that I initiated, then make sure they're your own, then use them freely. That's all I ask. And I don't ask it from a plagiarism point of view. I ask it from you being a participant. This is your requirement as a participant, is to make what you've heard your own. Whether you use the same language or not, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't like copying word for word.
But to say self-evident sensibility, I can't think right offhand another way to say that. You could call it.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the problem with all this stuff too. Cher, she probably just needs to relax a little bit about it too, because here's the thing though. Like, if you're teaching people knowledge and information, that's going to get ingrained in them, so they're going to automatically use the same words and maybe even put them together almost alike, almost like you're doing it. So there's, you know what I mean? So they might have actually read her post and be like, oh, wow, those are like good ideas. Wow, I like the way she's saying that. And maybe they used bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, well, it was somewhat conscious that they were doing. She understands that, but they were.
And that's okay. And you got to be okay with that, though, because unless they're copying it word for word, which is that's what plagiarism is, like copy paste. That's tricky, man.
It is tricky. It is tricky. Well, I do know the situation and the people involved, and they were doing some of what she was saying. So she didn't bother too much. She was more concerned with her not doing the same. Yeah.
Right, and you know what?
Give me one moment. I'll be on mute. So Bina, just I'll be here 1 second. I gotta talk to somebody here quickly.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Anyways. Yeah, man.
Sorry,
what's up?
please.
Go ahead.
I was just saying about Cher's post. In that group, she really had a tough time. It was not only about copying her post, but it was more than that. So she was really bothered about that.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
if it's it was good. It was good.
Yeah, if it's the group they told me about before, which that other girl joined it too. What's her name? Not Cher, but what's the skinny girl? With the short hair? Erica, yeah. Sorry, I don't know how to describe her really.
It's all good.
Erica, I think she did the same program. Am I right? Yeah. And so I told them, they asked me, and I'm like, look, the guy's a bozo. Just quit doing it.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, he's just doing the nincompoop stuff, like you say. He's doing the ego stuff. And it's like, you can't really do that.
Yeah, he got a bit lost with himself. Yeah, he's actually a good guy. He's actually a very good guy. He's got a lot of
Well, we're all capable.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all capable of falling into doing that stupid crap.
The nincompoopry, right?
Yeah.
Nincompoopry. That's what
I've done. I've done a lot of it.
Oh hell yeah, same here. Dang it, way too much. Bloody hell. But anyway, what can we do?
Can't do anything.
We learn. Nothing. That's what we do. We learn and we celebrate our learning. We don't celebrate the nincompoopry. We celebrate the learning. There we go. Very simple. Yep. Very simple. Yep. I love you, man. I love your learning. I love that you want to learn and that you're eager to learn and that you learn with such intensity and eagerness and enthusiasm. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, Bina? I'm not saying it's not just me that loves that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, so full disclosure, which I'm not saying this out of guilt, but you brought this. No, I'm not, because you brought it up, so
Okay.
I need to say it. I share my thoughts and post with my own page
Of
that
course.
I had
Oh, yeah.
that I had before
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I joined your program.
I know.
That has to do with
I know.
my eating, my health and wellness stuff.
I know.
But I don't plagiarize.
No,
I
know.
share my takeaways.
Oh, I
You
love
see
it.
what I'm
No,
saying?
your posts are magical. And I saw that you were sharing posts from before the program because some of them you shared old posts.
Oh.
The dates. And I
Oh,
see you
and
share from Ryan. I see you share from Holistic. I love what you're doing. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. It's cross-pollinating. Sharing to me is one of the most magical, incredible things that can possibly exist.
and what I've been doing lately though is, you know how Facebook old things will pop up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I've been saying good shit since like
Yes.
2010.
You've
So-
always been a philosopher, exactly.
Right. So it'll pop up
Wow.
and I'll see it and I'm like, oh man, that was really good. But what I do now, instead of just sharing that quote specifically word for word, I'll redo
Yes.
it and
You
kind of
re-engineer it to make it appropriate for now. Yeah.
right, exactly. And then I do what you taught me or told me to add a little picture.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so
love
I got in
your
the habit
pictures.
of doing that.
I love your pictures. I love them.
Yeah.
And I saw the deliberateness.
I like how I like the moreness of the
Yes.
picture, how it connects
Actually,
with the words.
you shared a post before when you were doing these modules before, and I was like, really, what it means, and you explain it in comments. And that post was, I guess, 2002, from 2002 or 2004, something.
Right.
Yeah,
Really old one.
old post. Yeah.
But the pictures, man, I spend like 10, 20 minutes picking out a picture.
Yes. Sometimes the picture takes way longer than the post. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll spend hours sometimes. The pictures
Because it has to be
just right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
That's the magic of the pictures. When you find that just right picture, you recognize it, and your impeccability kicks in, and you say, "Oh, there it is, and it adds so much moreness. It just fills out your whole post. I just love it, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's just so magically wonderful. And Olivia is the genius of the pictures. Olivia does it the other way around, by the way. We write the post first and then look for the picture. Olivia finds the picture and then writes the post.
Oh.
Yes, it's very different the way she does it. It's really quite something. Yeah, it's quite.
I might try to do that sometime.
Yeah.
That's
She has a
interesting.
big skill for it because also, she knows what's in her heart. So the picture then, it grabs what's in her heart, what wants to come out, and then she uses the picture to kind of draw out, like you use blotting paper to draw out ink or something, she uses the picture to draw out what's inside her. So yeah, just different way to go about it, but there's not just one way to do things, which is the magic of life,
Interesting. But I like, I like the picture thing.
Yes. And I love that I noticed that the pictures were deliberate. I saw
they
that
are deliberate. Right.
I saw that in them. I saw that and I enjoyed it and appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool.
And and what's interesting is you can use different pictures depending on what your perspective of what you said was.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So somebody could look at it. Huh?
The picture accentuates what you've written.
It does, right? And it brings out a certain point that you're trying to make.
Yes, highlights something. Yes.
Yeah, it highlights it. It emphasizes it. Yeah.
Yes, accentuates.
It's like
particular.
Yeah.
Accentuates is the right term here because it definitely accentuates implies it doesn't just take the whole thing that's magnify or multiply. No, accentuate is usually when you take one part and you bring it to the fore out of the more, or one aspect, one perspective that accentuates. That's accentuation, really what it means. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, 4 points on your takeaways there.
Oh, yeah. So, one of our other intents was living without agenda, obviously, and then we went on to say living without a selfish agenda, specifically.
Yes.
specifically
Yes.
to clarify
Now,
it a little bit more.
right. Now, I would even clarify that one more little bit. This word selfish is a very complicated term, because if you really think it through, it's impossible to not be selfish. And when you are truly selfish, you make the whole world better because it benefits you. That's ultimate
Okay.
selfishness, which is a beautiful thing, right?
Right.
So I
Okay.
try to avoid using the word selfish because it's such a layered, complicated word. I just say short-sighted instead. Right. It's just a personal thing for me, because short-sighted is usually what we mean
I
when we
see.
say selfish. We just mean short-sighted. Because if I'm truly,
Yeah.
truly selfish, I'm going to make the whole world a magical place, because why? I want it to be a magical place. Benefits me. And this is a magical selfishness, right? So it's a complex term, you know. But short-sighted, that just usually means limited awareness. You're not seeing very far. You think it's good, but it's not really good. And that's what we typically mean selfish, you know, something that's benefiting you only and not others, which of course doesn't really benefit you, because you're now cutting yourself from connectivity and collaboration and all the other magic. It's short-sighted, right? So I just prefer short-sighted to selfish. It's just a personal preference, but you see why, right? Just so that,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
in our inner spirit self, that they say, yeah, but wait a second, but you know, there's always a doubt when it comes, but with selfish. So we want to cut that but out. Very powerful.
Mm.
Yes, Peanut, you feel this too on this word?
Yeah. Again, associations with words. Oh yes.
Yeah, you're a
All
little
right.
soft, Peanut, but yes. Well, Ryan is louder today, so you have to be a little closer to your mic to compensate for Ryan's loudness. He's on the headset. He's on the
Okay.
headset.
Now?
He's in power mode. Yeah, that's a little better.
Right.
Oh yes, okay. I'm just saying that yes, we have some that previous associations already developed association with words, few words. It's better to use new words,
Yes.
at least not
Yes.
new, but with
Yeah.
new association.
Fresh associations, yes.
So yes, different words.
Yeah, our words is very powerful, and that is one of the magical things that we are doing in Wave Impeccability. We are going beyond words even. We are saying words are not enough. We are looking at conceptions, right? So this is the fullness of a word. When you take a conception is connected to everything, whereas a word is a limited definition. So we are saying conceptions is what we're about. And we want to take our conceptions, our terminology that we use, and we want to speak with conceptions rather than words, because conceptions are connecting, they're more. And when we speak about words, we limit the world. When we speak in conceptions, we broaden the world, our world. So this is a big shift. Plus, when we use our particular conceptions, we have our personal associations that we've associated to it. And we can inform others to say, okay, you know, when I mean short-sighted, I'm meaning it in this, and this way. We qualify, and then they know what we're talking about, and we go from there. But it's also some of those conceptions, they self-imply. They automatically imply that moreness through our cueing, through our awareness and the contagion of awareness. So when we speak in conceptions, we are incredibly more communicative than when we speak with words. It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal. Because that's how, when we associate deliberately things to our conceptions, and I use short-sighted instead of selfish, people know what I mean, because it's coming from my awareness and that contagion, because it's a conception. And you know, conceptions are kind of like the virus in a way. They have, you know, the virus has got these little spiky things around them, right? You've seen the pictures of it, which means they can kind of attach to things. A conception has these tendrils. It's like you know, it's open. Whereas a word is just like a round ball, and it just bounces off stuff. And yes, you may swallow it, you may catch it, but not necessarily. Whereas those conceptions with it's like tendrils that go off of it. So when you share a conception, people can connect to it from any different one of those tendrils, any different angle. You're giving them angles of connectivity to a conception. Whereas a word makes it difficult to latch onto sometimes. You know,
Yeah,
very
it's more
too
rigid.
specific. It's too narrow, right?
It's too rigid. Yeah.
Too rigid, precisely. Conceptions are very magical things, but we can add to the usual understanding, and we can add to it our own understandings, the moreness, because we're not changing what it means. We're just exploring its depths. We're exploring its implications. It's inherent in that. So we are not just going and making up new stuff and just doing randomly. No, we are going into the moreness, and we are just making this moreness aware. And this is our associations. We are becoming deliberately aware of the moreness of a conception.
Mm.
And that's how we take a word and transform it into a conception. To think it through, think it's all of its angles. Very exciting. It's very powerful.
Mm. Mm-hmm. There we go.
Very powerful. Very powerful. And that's the thing too, Ryan. The more you start to think about these conceptions, they are going to open up more and more. Now, don't be put off in being in this earlier stages, where you're saying, "Oh my goodness," because 1 connects to 1, and then it's 2, and then it's 8, and 16, and it's 32, 64, 128, 260, 256, 512, and so it goes on. 1024. It's like, wow. Yeah, it happens, but as you go out, initially it's going to seem a lot, and then later on, when you have all that connectivity, it's going to start come back down again. And you're going to see how those conceptions, which at first blossomed and bloomed into this multiplicity, and then eventually they start to become less and less and less. So it's like where we're at now. We go outward along all these streams, but later we start coming back in again, and we see how it all connects together. And that's very exciting. So just know that you're going to have tons of stuff, and it'll seem overwhelming, but after a while, they all start meaning the same thing. And that's very exciting. But we first need to connect them before we can see their connectivity. Then we start to see their similarities. Then we can start to group them, and then we can start to condense, and then we get to have where we can really use them very fluently and efficiently and effectively. So it's very powerful. But we still have to explore them one by one initially to own them, to really know them. So yeah, it's very exciting business. Very exciting business, because you do love words or conceptions and understandings, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do love.
Yeah.
You do like
Yeah.
knowing. You like conceptions, I've noticed, rather than words. It's very powerful.
Right. Yeah. Words they don't mean a lot to me.
Exactly. But conceptions.
I guess that's why I'm drawn to instrumental type music,
Me too.
because I get more just from hearing the sound than from hearing people say words.
Exactly. And that's how we're going to speak. People who speak with words, they communicate via lyrics. When we speak via conceptions, we have our talking. Yes, technically but it's actually instrumental communication. We are communicating a moreness, right? Because when there's instrumental music, you can feel the love, the gentleness, the tenderness, the sophistication, whatever they are the music represents. You feel it because that's what they're feeling. So they are using so we are going to speak via music, and conception is the language of music, if you want to.
Yeah. That's one of my intents too. And I think I told you that before. One of my intents is when I want people, when they hear me speak, I want them to hear, like a beautiful song. Yeah. Something more.
Moreness, always moreness.
Yeah, I want them to feel it. You see what I'm saying?
And that's when we speak in conceptions, we get to that. Plus, if you want them to feel it, you've got to own it. And when you own it and you're passionate about it, that's when we communicate. That's when we really, really communicate. Not share, but go beyond sharing to communicate. Yes. But you have to own it before you can be truly passionate. If you're passionate about something you don't own, that's when you get yourself into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happened to Ryan a couple of times. He gets wildly passionate and he doesn't really own it. He hasn't thought it through to the end. It's not really his. He's adopting it, and then he gets into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Make it your own. You have so much magic, Ryan. You don't need to find moreness from outside of yourself.
Right.
You don't need to bolster yourself for external moreness. Would you agree with that statement, Bina?
Own it and think it through to the end.
Absolutely. Yes.
No need for Ryan to bolster himself with external
moreness. It is kind of like a self-proving thing. Every single time when he shared his repeat backs and takeaways, especially, and look at his posts, so it is obvious.
Yes.
It is clearly obvious.
Ryan,
Which,
You don't need that.
well,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I can hold my point.
oh, what was your statement about obviousness?
About mine or
Making the
Venus?
obvious.
Yeah, it's not obvious till it's obvious or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
Which
It's
is
not
kind of
obvious
like,
Yeah.
until it's obvious, because it wasn't obvious before
Yes.
it became obvious.
that was the next thing I wrote down, was kind of along those lines. I said awareness could very well be a belief bubble, because it is impossible to be aware of your unawareness until you become aware of it.
Correct. I love that. Brian,
Right? It's a lot.
your posts right now are about you practicing your expression of self. It's
Yes.
about practicing the implementation of your understanding. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So those 2 points, just those two alone, there's more to it, but just take those two: practicing expression and implementation of understanding. Make a
Yeah.
post about those 2 points.
Hold on a second. Practicing expression.
And
Yeah.
practicing
Because
implementation of your understanding.
I'm pretty sure that
It's that second one as well, right?
I'm practicing
Implementation
expression.
of understanding. You're practicing two things.
Implementation of understanding.
Right. You're practicing the expression and the implementation of your understanding. Two different things, but two practices.
Practicing expression and implementation of understanding.
Right.
Okay.
So I would highly recommend, or let's make this your task for this week, both you and Janelle, to make a declarative post. To say you're declaring what you are doing. Say, I am in the process of making posts which are a practice of my expression, of understanding, and my implementation of understanding. Now I'm just short-circuiting the words, write it out and spell it out. So it's a declarative post. You're declaring to the universe what you are doing right now with your posts.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that you know, now it doesn't matter whether anybody reads it or not. This is opposed to the universe or to God.
Mm-hmm.
So that you set this intent and there's a clarity. Now you've created license for yourself to practice. You've made space for yourself to practice.
Mm-hmm.
You see the logic here, Bina? You see the logic here of what I'm saying? Why I'm recommending doing this?
I'm not really getting it. So.
Okay, so when Ryan and Janelle make this declaration of their posts right now, they're in the process of making posts that are explorative posts. They're practicing posts. It frees them from needing to be precise and exact, to maybe not quite getting it exactly accurate. Right? They've declared to the universe, hey, I'm in the process of practicing. I don't have to get it exactly right. I'm practicing, right? I'm going to test it this way. I'm going to check it out to see, I know maybe it's not 100%, but I have to practice it. I have to see. I don't know. Until I put it out there, I don't know. So it's a feedback mechanism. Now, whether anybody reads your posts or not is totally irrelevant. Just posting it is the feedback mechanism for yourself. Because then you post it, you look at it a little bit, you come back to it later and say, okay. But it's that practicing of expression, practicing of implementation. In other words, you are saying to the universe, don't hold me to these posts. They are practice posts. I'm getting there. Maybe I don't quite have it fully, but I'm working on it, so that you don't lock yourself into trying to be too precise and too exact. Because then we can get stuck in this perfectionist mindset, and then it limits us from making posts. You see? So you're opening the door to saying, okay, I don't have to know to be exactly right. I'm working on it. It's going to come later. I'm practicing. This is a very big deal. Very big deal.
And that's exactly what locks you into mimicking and copying.
Exactly.
Is when I used to just copy because I didn't want to think for myself or make it my own. You're just afraid of what you know. You're afraid of what you do know, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Oh, yes. Many people are afraid of what they do know. Exactly. Very profound statement. People are afraid of what they do know. You didn't just say people are afraid of what they know. No, you added that do in, which changes it, right? Tina, you were saying?
Yes, relevant,
Yes.
quite relevant today, what we were sharing before,
Yes.
or what we
Very
were
relevant and
discussing before.
pertinent. Yes. 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 Yes.
What we, yeah, you know,
You're in,
it's
right. You are literally very much in this path of self-discovery. It's self-discovery, not self-ownership, self-knowing. It's
right.
self-discovery that leads to self-knowing. But first you have to discover. And discover is a bit of a haphazard business, right? Our favorite word there, Bina.
Haphazard.
Haphazard. We like haphazard. Yeah. Communication
I
is
don't like it.
extremely haphazard. Oh, sorry.
I don't like it.
I know. I'm teasing a little bit. It came up a little bit of a tweak word, you know, a little bit of a word that has a little bit of an itch associated to it. You know what I mean?
Haphazards are my notes. Okay. So
There
that's why
you
I
go.
don't like it.
Yeah. Venus notes are haphazard. Yes. Or they were haphazard.
They
So
were.
They were.
yes,
She's
and
making an
Phil
effort to
was
neaten them.
what very seriously and very soberly he was saying that, oh, Veena, oh, I understand, Veena, your notes are haphazards. And I said, okay, thank you so much for giving me these words.
Right.
Magic. But you know, when we give ourselves license to explore, to not necessarily have to be so precise, this is a huge freedom, because that's what you're about. You are exploring, you are testing, you are putting it out there, you are checking, you are testing. You know, it's like, man, I'm learning how to build a house. I'm going to build a house this way. Let me see if I can build a triangular house. Oh, okay, I see it doesn't work. It makes it. Yeah, you have to figure it. You have to do it in order to see why it doesn't work, to take it off the list, right? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we learn through not. We learn through doing, but sometimes you learn through doing it the wrong way, right?
Mm.
So expression is
Yes.
similar. Okay, you're not going to deliberately make a post that's really kind of nonsense, but it might not quite have the fullness yet. But you are starting and then say, okay, now it starts the ball rolling, and then you think about it, and then you come back next time and you take it a little further and a little further and a little further, and then you condense it, you refine it, and then you come, yes. So it's a very powerful thing, but it just puts it out there into the universe. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
It's very powerful. All right, what is your next one there? Wow, all your stuff is leading so much.
Right. Let me see what's good here. Life will continue to be more and more unpleasant, more and more difficult. Here's a takeaway. Life will continue to be more and more unpleasant and more difficult until you learn the lesson necessary. Good advice. Take the easy route. Be flexible. Note the roadblocks. Don't push through. Always keep your eyes on the path. Do not be stubborn and reluctant to learn. Enjoy learning. The ego likes the hard, difficult path. Fight or flight. There's no reward for taking the steep path. Life is not a competition. Basically, the ego wants to climb the mountain and get to the top, you know, and even you can see some ego come out in pictures that I post because I like people being on the top of a mountain with a flag or something. But some, you know, that can partially be an ego thing too, because we want to. The ego does want to achieve something. It feels like it has to achieve something in order to be like worth anything, I guess. So we think we have to do something or achieve something or get something in order to be something.
Yeah.
But we're already all we can be right now.
Yeah,
you know.
Perfection of now. Perfection of now.
Yeah. So that was a good realization.
Yeah.
The spiritual mind does not compete or enjoy the hard path. Instead, it relaxes, takes the easy road, and enjoys the journey.
Wow.
Some power terms that we wrote down.
Say that last one again, please, Ryan.
Oh,
Reread it again.
the
Just wanna hear it again. It's
spiritual,
cool.
the spiritual mind does not compete or enjoy the hard path. Instead, it relaxes, takes the easy road, and enjoys the journey.
Yes, yes. Because the
Yeah.
most ideal way to learn is play.
Exactly.
And your
Yeah.
spirit knows this.
Right.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I like it too. Power
So next
terms.
time you read it to me like it's something profound, please. Not just
Okay.
yeah, there you go. I've read it now. No. I'm reading something profound, bloody hell. This is profound to me. Read it as if it's profound.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's hear it again.
The spiritual mind does not compete or enjoy the hard path. Instead, it relaxes, takes the easy road, and enjoys the journey.
And enjoys the journey.
Yes.
Mic drop. Okay, you got to read it like there's a mic drop at the end, because this is a profound freaking point. This is a huge deal. This is a life-changing point right there. Life-changing thing. We got to recognize the profoundness in just our simple stuff. You say, yeah, this is profound. That's why I wrote it, because I feel it's profound. Don't be shy of your own profoundness.
It is
That's no
good.
good. Yeah, it's huge. It's not about being good. It's about being profound and meaningful to you. You know what I mean? Yes, I mean, when you say it's good, there's an implication. It's like, oh, this is a good thing for external. I don't care external.
Right.
It was good for you. This is the key. Yes? Fantastic. Fantastic. So it's you to enjoy your own moreness. That's the key. To enjoy your own profoundness and recognize your own profoundness. This is what we are doing in Way of Impeccability. Way of Impeccability is a mechanism for connecting you to your own profoundness. Write that down for me, please, Bina. A mechanism for connecting you to your own profoundness.
Okay.
Connecting and recognizing your own. Connecting to and recognizing your own profoundness. Let's put recognizing in there too. Because it's already there in Ryan. It's already there.
Okay.
And that's something. Isn't that something? Oh. Oh, we asked Donna to share a selfie, and she did. And she asked me to share the picture with Bina, but okay, she's a bonus. We'll just share it with Ryan too. Yeah, there we go. Donna and her heart. This
Well,
dog
that's
is
nice.
the new dog that she got, Riley. This dog is just such a representation of Donna's magical, beautiful, delightful heart.
Beautiful
So
picture.
gentle and so at ease. You just see it in this year. You just see Donna in the dog. It's unreal.
Yeah, it looked like a golden retriever.
Yeah.
She's quite creative in that selfie. Wow.
Yes. It's very fabulous. It's very fabulous. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So while you were writing, see, I'm using my dead time. I love using my dead time. So love it. 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 All right. Next one, Ryan. Next one.
Yeah, we're kind of coming to the end here, but
Oh, perfect timing. Very cool.
some power terms we wrote down. Flexibility was one for us. Roadblocks is a power term for us.
Ah, yes. Very cool. Very cool.
And detours was a
Detours.
good one.
Yeah.
You know, because the detours will lead you to
Yep.
more. Really.
Yes. Exactly.
You could get irritated at a roadblock or a detour, but
No. Right. So how do you
healthy.
get to where you need to be if you don't know where that is?
Exactly. Roadblocks and detours help you get
Exactly.
help you
They
get
get
there.
you where you need to be, what you don't know where that is. Right? That's just connecting to
Right.
the unknown that we need to know.
Right.
You have to trust. You have to trust that the universe is going to create some kind of a detour, or you make a fortuitous mistake and you follow that. Oh, I see now. Oh, I got to where I'm meant to be. I didn't know I was meant to be here. Okay,
Right.
cool. Yeah. Very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah,
That's
very
about
powerful.
it. That's all we got for
That's all. That's all good.
the end of it.
There's no moreness or lessness to it. Your dictionary of power will grow as you go through it. So it's an incremental thing. So just as you go, and again, don't just add to your dictionary of power when you're doing the sessions. Add to it anytime during this. Oh man, that really is a significant, meaningful conception to me. Oh, let me go add it to my dictionary of power. Right. So do it. During the day also. And if you're working and you suddenly, wow, that's a really powerful thing. Oh, wow. And you condense it, then you just kind of scribble it somewhere, and then later you go add it to the dictionary of power. It is very, very, very monumental when that happens. Very monumental. How's Sanala? She had good rest?
I don't know. I think she went outside.
All right.
You know?
Just want to say goodbye. If you're going to go now, then just want to say, oh, I have something to do actually before you go. So, okay, never mind. We can give her some more time. Unless she wants to come here for this. I want Bina to continue. We started reading and we got sidetracked. She was reading on the perfection of now. So I wanted to continue reading a bit. If you don't mind, Bina.
Okay.
Janelle?
If she can. If not,
I don't know where she's at.
okay. All right, no worries. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
She might be outside.
I'll share the recording. You can go over the recording if she wants. No worries. And if she comes, then we can just start again. It's no problem. All right. Let me do screen share. All right. So this is an exercise that Bina and I are doing. It's something that came up in our conversations in a different way. There's a lot to this. So Bina's not reading this to say, oh, she's going to read through it. No. Bina's going to read this with her making a point of coming to understanding of it, what it is for her. Right?
Okay.
Right, Bina?
Oh yes, because I was trying to understand the concept behind that.
Right. And this is one view of it. There's more. The Perfection of Now is actually the title of book 2 in the Biala series. So these are just excerpts or little snippets from I don't know even if they are in the book yet, but they're related to the same point. So anyway, so we're just reading this. So Bina's just sharing her reading and comprehension and understanding her process, so thinking it through to the end, all of this. So it's very magical. I love it when Bina does this. It's really a gift, Brian. Okay, so put your feet up, relax, get your popcorn out.
Oh, come on. It's not that long.
No, just enjoy. I just mean, it's an act of patience, so.
Oh yes, it's an act of patience. I feel even more sure at this point in life that exploring this non-physical aspect of my beingness is an important part of my path. Beyond that, at this point in time, I cannot say much more for certain. I cannot say how I am to use this, how I am to integrate it. So, for me, the resolution of this is through combining the perfection of now with appropriateness. Wow. Okay. So, I'm going to read it again.
Yeah. You do what you need to do. Don't worry about us. You just do what you need to do. I love it.
I feel even more sure at this point in life that exploring this non-physical aspect of my beingness is an important part of my path. Beyond that, at this point in time, I cannot say much more for certain. I cannot say how I am to use this, how I am to integrate it. So, for me, the resolution of this is through combining the perfection of now with appropriateness. We are shown a step.
Bina, I need to interrupt here 1 second. I
Mhm.
just realized something really magical. This non-physical aspect of my beingness. Isn't that what Ryan was talking about with his rebirth? His new self?
Yes.
This is what Ryan's talking
Yes.
about. So
Exactly.
this is about what Ryan, wow, this is fantastic. Keep going, keep going.
This non-physical aspect of my beingness, and
Yes,
it's an important part of my path. Actually, the whole
yes,
sentence here
yes,
is just
exactly,
exactly the
exactly,
same.
exactly.
That exploring this non-physical aspect of my
Yes,
beingness is an
yes,
important part of my path. Okay, so now the spirit and giving rebirth to ourselves
yes.
spiritually
Right. So
is
read on
a
from there beyond
non-physical
that.
aspect. Yeah. Beyond that, at this point in time, I cannot say much more for certain. I cannot say how I am to use this, how I am to. Oh my God, this is what Ryan was saying.
Exactly, exactly,
This is
exactly,
what he was saying. That,
exactly.
okay, I don't know, but like, okay, we are in the process and we put ourselves on this path, but
Yes,
not for certainty. He was also saying in this almost
yes,
exact same words. That's right.
yes, yes. So
Yeah.
now, yes. So now we're going to hear that first. You see, it's a quote. It's in italics there, right?
Oh
She may as
yes,
well be
yes.
quoting. She may as well be quoting or paraphrasing Ryan. Okay. I think in this case, I don't remember what it is in the story. She may be paraphrasing the young man. I don't know, or somebody else. But now we are hearing how Biella is going to her perspectives on this, how she deals with it, how she comes at it, how she understands it. So, okay.
So for me, the resolution of this is through combining the perfection of now with appropriateness. Okay. We are shown a step, a doing of now, and it of course is perfect in the now. Doing that step changes things, leading to the next perfect step in the next now. Oh, it is a bit confusing for me. Because in this case, yeah, really, we are shown
But
as
it's
we are
important.
shown a
It's
step,
important that
a
paragraph.
doing of now. Okay, a doing of now, and it of course is perfect in the now. Yes, of course, um, it is perfect in the perfect of now. Yes, doing that step changes things. Yes, leading to the next perfect step in the next now. Okay, okay,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Oh yeah, it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have not yet completed the doing, capital D doing of capital N now, we have been shown how can the next step formulate appropriately. That is still unresolved. All that we can be shown is then the same again. Wow, the karma. Wow. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
This is a huge paragraph. Read it
Right.
again, please, Bina. I just want to scroll up to the
Oh,
top. And this is a
oh, the
huge
karma.
paragraph. This one,
Uh,
this part, so.
Oh my God. And still, I still remember that when I was asking you about the karma lesson, and Ryan mentioned, right, just a few minutes before, and he said that the universe keeps giving you the same lesson. And he said that yes, the universe keeps giving you the same lesson until you submit it to the universe.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
And I
yes,
was like,
yes,
yeah, now it makes sense. Otherwise, like
yes, yes.
Donna was saying, oh, I don't need the spellings. I read it. I learned my lesson. I know the spellings. Don't teach me again and again.
You got to
Yeah,
submit
she
it.
was so frustrated.
Yes,
But now
yes.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Things are unresolved. All that we can be shown is then the same again. Thus, we cannot know more than one perfect step ahead at a time. one brick at a time.
That's one sentence that's really huge there.
One brick
Thus,
at a
cannot
time.
know more than one perfect step ahead at a time. I think I need to,
Yes.
hyphenate this here. Step ahead, right? We want to know so many steps ahead, but we cannot. Why? Because otherwise you mess with the perfection of life. Anyway, keep reading. Sorry. You extract. Let me not say
No,
stuff.
it's okay. It's perfectly okay.
I don't remember this, so for me, I'm coming into it fresh. Like I'm reading it. It could be written by Ryan or by Bina or by Donna. It doesn't matter, So I'm kind of figuring it out also with you as I go through.
And I'm not reading it just for the sake of reading. I'm reading it to
Correct.
understand that.
For comprehension.
So,
Right.
yeah. For each step is dependent on the previous one being completed.
Yes.
Yes, it makes sense. It is the way of the perfection of now. It is the way of appropriateness. And thus it is that we have to acquire capital T, trust. Trust in the perfection of now, and trust that though the intent of appropriateness. When we capital do doing of
I think
now.
this is through. Sorry.
Oh yes, that's why I was a bit
Yeah.
reluctant
And
to
trust
say that.
that through the intent of appropriateness. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
When we do the doings of now, that competition allows for the next step to formulate.
That completion.
Yeah, that's why I repeated.
That's good. This is unedited. This is just raw writing. You see, write ugly, edit pretty.
Yeah, that completion allows for the next step to formulate perfectly.
Why?
Let me read it again. So potent. Thus, we cannot know more than one perfect step ahead at a time, for each step is dependent on the previous one being completed. It is the way of the perfection of now. It is the way of appropriateness. And thus, it is that we have to acquire trust, capital T trust. Trust in the perfection of now, and the trust that through the intent of appropriateness. Okay.
Yeah.
When we do the doings of now, that completion allows for the next step to formulate perfectly.
Yes.
All we can do.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's that analogy that I used. If you're laying stepping stones across a river, you have to lay your step, lay it perfectly. Why? Because then you can stand on it. Only then can you lay the next step. See? So that completion allows for the next step to formulate perfectly. Once the first step is in place, it changes the reality. And then the reality formulates. And now you can say, oh, since that's in place, as long as you're still formulating your step, you're still busy finishing completed. The next reality, it's in flux, depending on how you lay that step, how you finish it. You can put it a little bit here, a little bit there. So when you finish it and you place it, now the universe says, okay, I got it now. Now I can finish this variability of the reality, and I can bring it into being. And now only the next step can formulate perfectly, and you can see where it is. You first finish the first one perfectly.
And that's why you have to go back and repeat things, because you never finished it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because as long as it's unfinished, if you don't think it through to the end, that's why I always shout to the end. It's always in all caps. To the end is so essential, because you leave your reality in flux. Exactly, Ryan. Exactly. We leave it in flux. We cannot progress because it's still it's waiting for you to finish that step. It's all in flux still. When you finish that step and you finish it perfectly and appropriately and thoroughly and impeccably, then you say, okay, I get it now. Now I know what to do. I've got all the relevant information, and now it can finish the next step. It's very simple as that. It's very, very simple.
So if we get more specific, and if we just use the analogy, like, okay, when people do it in their education, they don't just take it seriously, okay, and just try to go through that somehow by skipping the lessons, not paying attention, and all these things. Those same lessons, okay, not like, okay, exercises in the notebooks, but yes, the same lessons about their education and the importance of education keeps
Yeah.
coming back into their lives again and again. And they
Right.
feel that, oh, I need to go back to school, I need to go
Yeah.
and do this, I need to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And these lessons are coming back again because at
Yes.
that very moment, we were not impeccable. We were
Yeah.
not paying attention. We were not giving due respect. We were not actually submitting all those things and just showing that, yes, it can be in anything. Now I understand, and now I
Yes.
feel that, yes, this all karma
Yeah.
things make sense to me now.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Why are the
Yeah.
lessons
So,
coming back?
as a nice little takeaway of that, the quote, I want to add it to this file, but I can't now because the file is open and I'll have to scroll to the bottom. But my takeaway here is learn thoroughly or learn again,
Yes.
right? Learn thoroughly,
And
or will you write it
this
down
is
for me,
what,
please, Bina?
oh yes, I'm writing it down.
Okay.
And this is what happened in relationship also. Like this,
Exactly.
if we
Yes.
don't do that,
Yes. Especially in relationships. Learn thoroughly or do it again. That's it.
yeah.
Right. Right, Ryan? So from all this, we had a nice little takeaway quote. We're saying learn thoroughly or learn again.
And again,
Learn thoroughly. I'm gonna write that down. I gotta cut up an apple for my kids. Hold on.
No
no,
problem.
I'm writing it down. We can share
Okay.
later.
Well, Ryan's going to put in his notes. It's good. Learn thoroughly or learn again. It's all good.
Thorough.
Emphasis in writing. Emphasis. Emphasis. Yes, Bina?
Yes. Wow.
Hello.
It all makes sense now.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. And there's more coming. There's more.
Well, you know what?
This is Biella we're talking about, right? So there's always more.
So that's a little depressing because I don't know if I don't know if I.
Ryan, we have to absolutely remember. Okay, next point on that. However, there is such a thing as compound learning.
Right. Is there a thing as compound nincompoopery?
There is.
Yeah. I mean,
But you know, right? It's
I
when you have
think
an awareness.
I think I got pretty good at that one.
Yes. But here's the point, Ryan.
Go on, lad.
Compound nincompoopery. Yeah, but the awareness of compound nincompoopery transforms it all of a sudden into compound learning.
Okay, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Compound learning is one perspective shift away from compound nincompoopery. This is it.
Yeah, I see.
It's just that, you know, when you take that, you know, that Mobius loop, you know, when it transforms like this, you see my hands, Ryan?
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that's it. Compound nincompoopery, compound learning.
Okay. Yep. That's easy
You know
enough.
this. You know this from building. You know that stuff, right? You
Yes.
just kind of tweak it, and oh, suddenly it's perfect. Oh, no, good. Oh, there you go. So yeah. So it's awareness that is the key ingredient.
Mm.
This is it. The learning. Your spirit doesn't care how you learn. It only cares that you do learn.
Well, what's interesting is I'm realizing when I do self-reflection and stuff like right now,
Yeah.
I don't think I've learned one freaking thing my whole life.
Yes, Ryan. Yes. Write that down, please, Ryan. No, I really mean it. You know.
No, it's pretty sad, but I don't know if I've really learned anything.
Oh, write it down. Write it down. You know, I listen very deeply. And you know, we practice capital H hearing every day, Bina and I. Come on, this is what we do every day. One of the things I listen for, capital L listening really deeply, I listen for there it is moments. And that's what you just said. That's a there it is moment. And it is a profound, life-changing moment to realize that we've learned bugger all and we've got to start all over again. It is the rebirth moment. Right now, it's like, oh, the head is coming through. Oh, I can see it. It's starting to ground.
Listen. Yeah, I feel like a toddler, like a baby, not even a toddler, a baby. And literally, you know how a baby, like the first thing they learn how to do is talk before they walk, usually.
Yes.
They learn how to make sounds, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I'm just, my whole, I'm learning how to say my first fucking word.
I hear where it's going. I see where it's going. I could
I'm
extrapolate.
like, I'm like,
Baby, right? If you talking in baby talk, all the stuff. It makes
my
me
whole life I've been like, baby.
right. You
Is
make
that why you call me?
Erica Jane's joke.
Is that why you called me a big baby?
Well, I was just teasing you, but okay, I was prescient. Well, I'll claim some prescience. Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
No, I was truly just, it's just you opened the door, so it was just, it was just looking after the little one. So there was no deeper meaning to it.
I mean,
But yeah, it's a
there
good
might
thing.
have
It opened up the door. So
there might have been some truth to that.
this is
Not might, there
exactly.
was.
So I'm saying I'll claim some prescience. Okay, I was prescient. Oh, fantastic! I'm developing my psychic powers. What can I tell you?
Right.
This is huge, Ryan. This is huge. If we don't come to that acknowledgement, we can't learn. And you were talking about your spiritual rebirth. This is the moment where it's
Yes.
right
Yes. Yes.
right
Yes.
now to realize, oh my God, I've been talking in baby language all the time. So when you see Erica Jane next time, ask her to
Yes.
tell you her famous joke.
All right.
Right? Well, it's only one joke that comes up because I set a task for her to come and tell a bad joke and tell it poorly. Now, she didn't succeed on the telling it poorly, so she told it was, we laughed our asses off on the joke. But anyway, the joke is very appropriate to what you were just saying right now, right, Pina? Or at least in a funny way, in a roundabout
Oh,
way.
yes. Yes.
By the way, my kids are sitting here. Every time I chop an apple, they're like nodding their heads.
Wow.
It's taken me like 10 minutes to chop up this apple.
Okay, we'll wait for you. All right, we'll wait for you to finish it. We wait for you to finish. Okay, you finish.
They're sitting there. Are you guys waiting? They're like, when is he going to be done chopping this apple up?
All right, we'll wait till you finish. All right. We won't get you too distracted. So hello, Pierce. Hello, Juliet.
You want to say
How
hi?
are you guys? They can't hear me. Oh, they can. Oh, there they are. All right, brilliant. Brilliant.
Okay.
Yes, I'm always happy to see you guys. You're really magical, so.
You can't
It's always
see
so full of life, so full of joy, so full of
Right.
positivity.
Hi,
It's
baby.
beautiful to see. Hello, Juliet. Hello, Pierce. You guys truly have a goodness, and that goodness shines through. I just love seeing it. It's always a joy. I just want to say I'm trying to articulate and express what I'm saying. Because a lot of people say, oh, it's nice to see you, but they never say why, right? I'm telling you exactly why it's nice to see you. Yeah? Does that help?
We are listening.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hope it helps. It's nice to hear why people say it's nice to see you. Yeah, it's nice to see you because I see your goodness, I see your joy, I see your enthusiasm, I see your eagerness, I see your delightfulness in life, I see that delight in just the joy that you take in doing things, and I see your goodness. I see that massive goodness, your positivity. It's very powerful. So, all right, cool. Enjoy your apple.
They gave me a piece. It was pretty good.
Ah, nice. Good. Sharing is magic. All right. So now let's continue.
My kids like to share. Yeah.
Sharing. See, that's another reason why I like to see them, is because I can see that in them, that goodness of sharing. Sharing is one of the most incredible, most magical things and transformative things in the world. It's an unbelievable magic.
Sharing. Can I jump back to this learning how to talk thing?
Yes, please. Yeah, this is why we do this, for the connectivity. Yeah.
I just can't believe it though. Sometimes, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's a hard thing for me to
But take joy in it.
grasp.
Take joy in it.
I guess.
Take joy in it.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, really for real? Is that really for real? Because I've heard myself talk a lot and say a lot of things and do a lot of things. But it's like, I just think about society as a whole. I just think of, I'm thinking about the collective, like all of us, on the earth together. And man, most of us are in pretty bad shape.
Yep. That's why the virus has come and forced us all indoors in social isolation. It's saying, hey, it's time for you to pay attention to you.
Right, and that's what I told Janelle. I said, this is actually a good thing that's happening. It's not bad.
Yes. Wake up time.
Yeah, it's wake up time. Right. which I was already prepared for this, so
Yes.
I'm okay.
Yes. Yes.
But a lot of people weren't prepared for this.
Nope.
I'll say that.
Nope. But they are
Um,
getting there in a hurry.
They're getting a crash course.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's funny.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. What magic. What magic. What incredible, incredible magic.
It just,
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say, this just brought out, this helped clarify my intent a little bit more.
Yes. Yes.
And, you know, and it gave, and it helped me focus my purpose a little bit more.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
For why, you know, and yeah, it just helped clarify and bring focus to that purpose of,
Yes.
you know, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
which the more I understand that, the more passion.
Exactly. Exactly. The more
have.
connectedness there is, right?
Right.
Everything starts to become connected and magical, and everything starts to become relevant and pertinent.
Right. Yeah.
Every single thing becomes, man, oh, this is just for me. We start to realize, you know, our ego always wanted the world to revolve around us, right?
Yeah.
But then you realize, oh, crap, you know what? The world actually does revolve around me, except not in the way I thought it does. It revolves around me. It's giving me these lessons all the time. Everything is about me learning, about me becoming more aware. Every single thing. Every single thing. That's it.
And I need, so something that's essential for me, that I just realized is that, self-evident sensibility, that validation.
Yes.
I have to have that, because if when I get that, it helps motivate me to keep going. But if I don't have that, I want to quit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Self-evident sensibility is absolutely a core power triangle, foundation, stone, center column for Ryan. That's your term, Ryan. That self-evident sensibility, that is what you need. Need. When you didn't have it before, that's where you got into trouble, where you just believed stuff. You need self-evident sensibility. Belief is not enough for Ryan.
No, it's not.
It's not enough for Ryan.
Belief doesn't mean anything to me, really.
Exactly.
And you know what? And this is my whole life has brought me to this point.
Yes.
Like, all the stuff I went through in my entire life brought me to this point so I could start over again.
Yes.
Actually, so I could actually start my life at all.
Correct. There you go.
You see?
Not start all over again, but actually
start.
Big different point. Big different point.
That's crazy. I never actually lived before. I wasn't alive.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying?
Correct. You were a zombie.
I was kind of wandering around in the darkness, searching for
You're a zombie.
something.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew deep down that whatever was being offered to me wasn't what I wanted. I'm like,
Exactly.
And
that's
what got me
through not. Yeah.
And that's what led me and got me into, like, involved with trouble and stuff like that. Like, because drugs and alcohol, for me, since I was very depressed because the world didn't have much to offer me, you know, or I didn't know about it. I didn't know about the other offerings. So you get depressed and you're like, well, I'm going to drink. And because I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, I feel like there's no point to be alive, really. I can understand how someone could commit suicide, because it's like,
hell yeah. Oh, I'm glad you didn't, Ryan. Oh, I'm glad you didn't. You'd have to start all over again. And you'd really have to start all over again.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I understand how you can get to that point easy, because if you aren't aware of these other possibilities and you aren't aware of real life, it's like, well, what's the point? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, right.
What you're saying. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
You got to have some substance. You got to have the moreness, like you talk about.
And it's got to be based on self-evident sensibilities. Otherwise, our foundations based on belief are no good. They're hollow. Now, it doesn't mean we cannot believe things, but we have to know that when we do believe, it is a
Right.
matter of choice, and we take full responsibility for it. Say, okay, I know that this may turn out to be absolute rubbish and nonsense. Doesn't matter. It may be completely untrue. I'm choosing to believe it because I get value out of it. The value is real. The
Yeah.
value and the usefulness is real. The belief makes no difference.
Mm.
Right? When we
Right.
choose our beliefs like that, because sometimes you can't avoid a belief, but now we are doing it consciously and deliberate. The self-evident sensibility comes from the value and the benefit and the usefulness, not from the belief itself. So we're getting very sophisticated with our beliefs, but until we get there, in the meantime, we're just going to be focused on our self-evident sensibilities and laying this foundation of power.
Mm-hmm.
When we build ourselves on this solid foundation of self-evident sensibilities, this is a foundation for power, yes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, they always say the power and the glory. People misunderstand that. They think it means dominance and, controlling others. No,
Mm-hmm.
it means the power to really own yourself, the power to take your beliefs, to take your choices, to take your energy and use them deliberately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You were living an undeliberate life in your zombie life, right? If we call it that, or whatever you want to call it, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
undeliberate, it was meaningless, it was directionless, it had no focus, there was no clarity of intent. You just believed that you knew what was going on. It wasn't based on a realness. There was nothing underlying it. It was hollow. Yeah,
Right.
it's huge, right?
Yeah, and even
Man,
and the self-trust, I'm still learning that too, because even
yes,
with doing this program, I haven't in the past, but I'm doing better about trusting the process.
yes,
I don't
yes,
think I've ever trusted any process really.
yes, right, yes.
100%.
Now, this process of the program, yes, trust it, because
Because
no,
it's so new, it's like new and
yes,
it's
yes,
like,
yes.
I don't know.
I want to connect it to your self-trust in this way, that say, I am going to give trust on and just why? Because I'm going to open the door that more may come. So
Yeah.
being foolish to give trust knowing that, just blindly believing. No, I'm going to give it. Why? Because I'm opening myself to the possibility for moreness to come. So I'm
Right.
self-trusting that I'm going to access and connect and extract the moreness that I am catching glimpses of. And in order to do that, I have to trust the process. So I'm taking it under advisement. I'm trusting without trusting. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm taking it under advisement. I'm going to go into it and explore it with full trust in order to get the maximum. But I'm not giving it completely. I'm sort of am, but sort of not. Right? So I'm going into it trusting so that I can get the moreness. And that's a profound act of your own self-trust. That you are saying, I'm willing to venture into the unknown with confidence, with assurance. I'm willing to take this chance of trusting because I have trust in myself that I'm going to and I will insist on extracting the more. I'm going to make sure I get more out of this by trusting the process. Very sophisticated, layered thing, but you are trusting yourself to be able to connect to that moreness by giving trust to the process. Very exciting thing to do. Very exciting thing to do. And it's a huge thing to do. Yes. This process of the way to do the program, it's not a simple process. It is a layered, sophisticated process. But when done fully, the rewards are absolutely incredibly profound. It's a very big deal. I mean, it hasn't likely come by, I mean, if I had to go into how it's come by, I mean, it's a whole lifetime, but the layeredness, the sophistication, the thinking through, it's a big deal. It's like my diagram behind you. It's that kind of a deal. But there's definitely a logic to it, as really deep self-evident sensibility that, and now you have to take it on trust, but you're going to see it later. Oh my goodness, yes, I get it now. Oh my goodness, yes, I get it now. So that's just the way it is with learning. Sometimes when we're learning what we don't know that we need to learn, some trust is involved. But you have to have self-trust in order to trust yourself to learn the unknown. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
not be put off by the unknown, because most people are. They say, oh, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what the hell's going on here. And then they just say, no, this can't be true. It can't be real. And then they shut down and they never learn it.
Well, yeah, and a tough one for me to get over is money, because my inner self, my real self, has told me multiple times, I do not want you to do anything that is for money, or at least your motivation. If your motivation
Correct.
is money,
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because usually when I do something that's motivated by money, it gets taken away from me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't get to keep it. I lose it somehow.
Same here. Same here.
So that's,
Yeah.
you know, and it's difficult. It takes a lot of self-trust,
Yes.
because,
Yes.
you know, especially when you have a wife and children,
Oh, yeah.
they depend on you, and,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and it takes money to live and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm not saying this is impossible, because nothing's impossible.
Correct.
I'm just saying it's difficult.
I hear you. And the
It's
difficulty
difficult.
is learning to trust outside the boundaries of what we believe is possible.
Right. Yeah, I almost have to be like an alchemist and turn lead into gold.
Exactly. So we have to learn to believe in the impossible. This is difficult. We almost have to trust the
Yeah.
irrational. I
But here's
find
the thing.
myself, yeah, Ryan, right now, I find myself in a completely irrational circumstance as a consequence of trust.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very magical. I mean, I'm in a situation where I can live rent free for the next couple of months.
I mean, that's good.
It's fantastic. I have, you know, and you know, I did get a little bit of income. It's not a lot,
Yeah.
but it's enough that, you know, I have a bit of reserve that you know,
Right.
if I have to buy my food, I've got enough
Right.
food for 2-3 months, but I
Right.
have enough money for that too. So I'm set.
No, I'm okay too. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I'm just saying, but it
it's
came
not that I'm
about as a
never
result
okay.
of trust. It's a
Yeah.
completely irrational situation, you know, when you get into it. I mean, if I tell you the whole story, it'll blow your mind. It's a really magical story.
Oh, I believe you.
It's
Yeah.
trust. It's capital T trust that led me to this point, you know. Trust.
Honestly, me and Janelle are in an odd situation too.
Okay.
So,
I'm very pleased to hear that, because I was talking about this with Bina, and we were saying, I really hope that you are in a situation where the next 2-3 months, you know, are stress free for you, where you don't have
well,
to.
that's what I'm saying. It's almost like we knew what was going to happen without knowing, and we set ourselves up for this. It's totally weird.
Oh, good. Yes. Same here.
Because literally, the lifestyle that everyone else is living right now, me and Janelle have been living for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's getting forced to live how we've been living.
Yeah. Same here. Exactly.
And so actually, this month is probably going to be one of the better months.
Yes.
I'm just saying for me. Yeah.
Me too. Absolutely.
Because I don't have to worry about anything.
Right. Ryan, now
Yeah.
look at this when it comes to trust and self-trust.
Right.
Look at your circumstance. We have to have this long-term view and of self-trust and trust, and connected to patience. To say, man, you know what? I have to have patience and trust that things will work out. Things are on a path to awesome. All I need to do is trust and be patient.
Yeah.
The two go together, right?
Yeah. Oh, I believe you, man. You know, I believe you.
You're living it. You have daily
I'm living proof.
of it.
I'm living proof.
Yes. It gives me great relief to know that you stress free for the next 2-3 months. I love that.
Oh, I'll be fine. And here's the crazy thing. From the outside looking in, you would think, oh man, I should be worried, you know, about this or that or whatever. But I'm not.
Good.
I can't tell you why.
I'm pleased to hear that, because Bina and I were speaking about this, and you know, I was really saying, you know, I hope that this is the case. So, brilliant.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I haven't been working, and you know, from week to week, I'll have like 10 cents in my bank account. But here's the thing. It never goes below 10 cents for some reason.
I love that. I
Well,
love
I
that.
only got 10 in there.
Wow. Oh, magical.
It never
I hear
goes
you
to
on
5
that.
cents.
I hear you
It
on
never
that.
goes to
I
5.
hear you.
You
I
always
love
got
it.
10.
I love it.
I got double digits going on.
I love you. Oh, you know what? That's interesting. Who was saying that this double digits is somehow important? Oh, Bina, 10. She was saying 10.
Yes.
The number 10 is somehow very important.
Yes.
To
Is
be.
it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It just popped in my head, 10. I don't know why.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Now we
Yes.
know
But
why.
no.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So the interesting thing is, I'm just going day to day, but, because, I'm not making much money, we got qualified for food stamps.
Oh, perfect.
If you know what that is, it's like a
Oh,
government
yes.
assistance
Oh, yeah.
program.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to take care of most of our food for every month.
There you go.
And then I found out I'm going to get money back on my tax return,
Yeah, very good.
which I was not aware of before.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't filed for unemployment because I can't, because it's so crazy right now. You can't even get through.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not even worried about it because
Right.
the past 3 years we've been living a crazy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And we've never went without food, and we've never went without shelter, and we've never went without
And you never
clothing.
will, because that
No.
is your will.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm like, why would I want me and my wife and my kids to go without food? That's
Exactly.
stupid.
And Ryan, let me ask you this. Your trust, this
Yeah.
trust of yours, which is a
Yeah.
capital T trust,
Yeah.
what is it built upon?
You know what? I don't know.
Is it built upon your impeccability?
I never thought about it really much before.
In other words, what I'm saying is, your trust isn't just, oh, you're hoping and wishing. You do whatever you can do in order to make things happen. You do whatever you can do to put food on the table, to pay your rent, right? So now, right. But you are saying that's your impeccability. You see, now you say, well, I've done everything I can do. And it's still not enough, maybe. And that's when I trust that it will come right. And it does. Your trust is valid because it's based on your impeccability. I have to repeat this, Ryan. It's very important.
Yeah.
Your trust is valid only when it's based on your impeccability.
Okay. Yeah. Trust is valid only.
Only, all caps only.
Yeah.
Huge point. Huge point.
Now, it might not always be the ideal situation that my wife wants to be in, but actually that's
ideal
helping.
is not the same as functional.
I'll say one thing. This has helped her ego issues too, though.
Exactly.
So these situations that she was uncomfortable with, or this or this or that, she looks back and she's like, "Oh, I think she needed it actually."
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And you know what's funny though? You want to hear the really funny thing?
Just listen.
My children loved it.
Yeah.
My children, kids don't care, man. I'm gonna say this: kids do not
they
care.
just care for love and goodness and joy and fun. Exactly.
They have fun. They have fun no matter where you live, no matter what kind of clothes they're wearing.
Exactly.
No, they don't care about none of that.
Exactly. So
I'm like, man,
we learn.
Yeah, my kids are amazing.
We learn what's really important through the different situations that we get put into.
Through the trials and tribulations, yes.
Yes. Those detours, they're magic.
The detours.
Yeah, but this point of the trust, man, you trust in the detours. You trust in the roadblocks. Right. If you take every single term on your dictionary of power, they're all connected to trust. Yes?
Yeah.
Trust. Yeah. And in this point that I want to emphasize again, your trust is built on the bedrock of impeccability.
Right.
It can only be. If it's not built on impeccability, if there's not impeccability underneath it, then it's just hope and wishes and indulgence and nonsense. Right?
Right.
That's what you're thinking. You see many people, all I have to do is trust that God is going to help me. Well, God sent you the ladder to climb up onto the roof. No wonder you're bloody drowning because you didn't take the help that was offered you. Right?
Right.
There's a famous story that the people are, the knock on the door comes and it's the sheriff and he says, oh, there's the hurricane is coming, it's going to flood. Oh, don't worry, God's going to help me. Okay, the next thing, and eventually, they drown because they didn't take the help from the helicopter and the boat and all the help that was offered them. So, I know it's a long story, but you get the point. You know people like this. They don't do anything. They don't make any effort. They're lazy as crazy. And then they complain when things don't go wrong and say, oh, but God's going to help me. No, this is wishful thinking. Your trust has to be based on impeccability. God's ain't going to help you if you haven't made every effort to help yourself, right? But if
Right,
you made
exactly.
every effort that you possibly can do, that's when helps. Okay, hey, Ryan has really made everything he can do. There's nothing more he could have done. Now I'll help him out.
Right.
First, you
Right.
have to help. You have to be impeccable, and it's not just like doing little things. It's impeccability that requires doing absolutely everything you can, being thorough, being diligent, being scrupulous, acting according to your conscience. Really going through to the end. That's impeccability. It's really crucial to understand that capital T trust is a capital T because it's based on impeccability.
Now, what if?
Like the I of impeccability goes on top of that T there.
Now, what if you were doing something and you thought that was the thing you were supposed to be doing,
Doesn't matter.
and you were being scrupulous and going to the end and doing all that, but it blew up in your face?
Doesn't matter. It's a fortuitous mistake then.
But then, that's what I'm trying to say. You don't want to keep doing it because you want to take it to the end. You want to stop.
Right. Well, when you realize that, okay, then you adapt and then you apply appropriateness. Right.
Because I've done that where it's like, oh yeah, I think this is where I'm supposed to go. This is what I'm supposed to do. Because there's a lot of opportunities, right? Yes. And it can seem like the right way. You're in this belief bubble.
Yes.
But then you keep going, and sometimes I'm stubborn, so there'll be roadblocks and there'll be this and that, like trying to get me to stop. But I'm like, no, I need to keep being persistent and pushing through. And then it'll end up in a disaster.
Right. But that's because you weren't really impeccable. You thought impeccability was only going through to the end. No, impeccability is also paying attention to what the universe brings you.
I know, right.
The universe is saying, go this way, and so it's about being flexible and adaptable and appropriate, right? And listening to your conscience, right? And that's why I asked you for the different...
It's hard. That's a self-trust thing,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also in cases like that where we get stuck is when we get blinded by ambition.
Yep, that
ambition
too.
Is a really blinding force.
Yeah, I'll say my motivation.
Said it earlier today. She said ambition makes you stupid.
I'm gonna write that down. That's a good one, Dina.
Yeah, she sees it in her president.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Dina was on a rampage this morning.
But it's funny though, like you're totally right, but at the same time, it's like he's doing what he thinks is right.
Correct.
You know what I mean? In his mind.
So we need discernment, in other words. Right.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So you can't be mad. You can't be like mad at him because it's like he doesn't even know what he's doing.
Right. Exactly.
But when dealing with others, we need to be really, really appropriate.
Well, of course.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like, I hope this program leads me. Hopefully I can be in leadership someday to test. Because I think when you're put in a position of leadership, it can help.
Okay, so Ryan, let me rephrase what you just said there. You hope and intend that this program, that the way of impeccability, will enable you to be an appropriate leader.
Yes.
Very big difference. Not just to be able to be in leadership. There's many people who are able to be in leadership, but that doesn't make them appropriate leaders.
Exactly.
Right. Now, let's ask yourself this. If you were put in a point of leadership today or in, a week or two or month or year or whatever ago, right, would you have had the tools to be that appropriate leader?
No, I still don't have them all.
Exactly, precisely. So this is what this is about. You cannot get what you want until you are able to receive it and apply it and be it. Yes?
Hmm. Hmm. Right, exactly.
So
Like
this is a preparation program for it.
all of my, right. That's interesting because I've had desires and intents my whole life, but
Yes.
I guess timing is something I'm learning too.
Yes.
Patience. I'm
Yes.
learning patience
Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
these
Yes.
intents, these desires, they're big.
Yeah.
They're huge
Yeah.
intents,
Yeah.
and so it takes time for them to like
Yes. Yes.
manifest. I guess you
Yes.
could say.
Exactly. And even more so,
Yeah.
you just assumed when you had the intent that you would be able to implement it and fulfill it if it
Yeah,
manifested.
exactly.
And it
Right.
kind of did in various ways, and you realized, oh, I was totally unprepared, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then it collapsed and imploded because you didn't have the tools
And then I was
available.
disappointed
Yes.
because yeah, I believed. I'm like, oh yeah, I can just do this. It's not that big a deal,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Um,
And that
but
was
like
the
you
problem.
said, yeah, and I don't, and I guess that's that ambition that
Correct.
blinds you.
Blinded by
Yeah.
ambition. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It made you stupid. It's what it does.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can say the same with arrogance. Not that you were deliberately arrogant, but
Yeah.
in a roundabout way. Arrogance causes stupidity. It's an amazing
It
thing.
does.
You weren't in the classic sense arrogant, but in a way, kind of. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
soften the arrogance because you weren't actually arrogant in the way we normally mean it.
Right.
But
Right.
by
Yeah.
inadvertently, we were arrogant simply through our ignorance and our, that ambition. It blinded us and it made us arrogant in a way. It's like when we're impatient. If we're impatient, we are actually being arrogant. You say, what do you mean? Well, if we're impatient, don't we expect the whole world to revolve and conform to our timetable?
Yes.
Massively arrogant. The world's got its own timetable. It's not going to subscribe to my timetable. So this is a very big deal. Yeah. So it's very powerful when we realize, and the reason I bring arrogance into it, because it's for us here now, right, and everybody in the way of impeccability, it's one thing that we abhor. We absolutely loathe arrogance. We just cannot
Mm-hmm.
stand it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we can't be phony either. None of us can be phony, right? We just can't do it. It just goes against us. It rubs us the wrong way. We can't be phony, right? So now when we associate arrogance to impatience, how in the hell are you going to be impatient again in the future? You say, oh my God, then I'm going to be phony, then I'm going to be arrogant. I know, I can't be it. So in the same way, how can you also now say, when you overestimate yourself in terms of ambition, you can say, isn't that an arrogance that I assume I can do this? How do I know I can do it? I need to be sure. I need to prove it to myself. I need to test. I need to, check it out first. I need to develop and learn the tools. Then only can I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leveraging this horror of arrogance to put the pressure on us to be thorough, to be really learn what we learn, to learn to be patient, etc. It's very powerful, and that's how timing comes, Ryan, through patience.
Right.
Not just patience, but discipline and forbearance. When you are patient, you know how to wait, right? And you wait without stress. You learn to wait without peace. But you could be waiting for whatever the thing is that you're waiting for. But if you're not disciplined and you don't keep your focus, you don't keep your intent, you don't keep connected to your intent, you don't have that discipline to stay on the course, to stay on the program, well, then it ain't going to happen. Now you might say, okay, so now you acquire discipline. Okay, I'm learning to wait without peace. I accept, I trust that it's going to come when it's going to come, however long that takes. Okay, I'm there. I'm also disciplined in maintaining my focus, in maintaining my intent, in maintaining my trust, and I'm being disciplined in my learning and my growth. Okay, but then, all sorts of stuff comes into your life and it puts pressure on you. You got kids, you got this. This is when you need forbearance. In other words, sometimes you kind of just need to hang in there a little bit and stick it out, to say, okay, I am being patient, I am being disciplined. Now I've got to forbear. When you do that, it creates the timing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, again, forbearance
You
is a
know,
very tricky term. For
that's
you right now, the situation you might be in now, food stamps and all that, people
mm-hmm.
might say, oh, that's a horrible way to be. But when we have forbearance, things like that don't bother us, right? So you're in
No,
a
it
situation
doesn't bother
now where
me.
there's a bit of
Yeah.
forbearance, precisely.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Right. Exactly.
You know, I can't tell you why it doesn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah. Well, because you've let go of that ego crap and nonsense like that, and you just
Yeah,
what's about.
I have nowhere to be, and
Exactly.
I don't have an agenda really.
Ambition has been thrown out. Ambition and agenda are very closely linked.
Yeah.
Typically, ambition gets us into trouble because there's an agenda, and the
Now,
agenda is self-importance.
don't get me wrong. Yeah, I've given up on the idea of like a fancy house and a fancy car and fancy clothes, but that's not saying I don't like those things.
Of course not. Of course not. If they come, then you enjoy them, but it doesn't mean
Right.
it's the be-all and end-all of your life.
But
Precisely.
that's no longer my motivation for living,
Right,
I guess
right,
you could say.
right. And you have a wonderful house that you live in now. It's most.
Oh, it's totally fine. I mean, you should when we went out to California, man. We lived in a camper, okay, with a double bed, or no, it was a full size bed. It was like a mattress on a plank of wood, and then a little junky fold out couch. The kids slept on that, and me and Janelle slept on the bed.
And I loved it.
And it was cold, and it was wet. It leaked, and mushrooms grew out of the carpet.
I've been there. I've been in the same situation when the things get too wet, the carpets get moldy, and then the mushrooms grow. I've been in the exact same situation. I know exactly where they grow in the ceiling too, where the leak was through it.
Right.
Mushrooms grew, yeah.
Now, when I think back on the situation, you know, I actually enjoyed it. I think.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
What?
There's no heat.
Oh, there was no heat, so we had to heat it with the oven.
Ah, yeah, you. I've been there too. Yeah, you. I've been in all these.
Yeah, the pipes would freeze. The toilet would overflow.
Oh wow.
Back up.
Oh.
Guess what? If you talk to Janelle now, she thought it was the worst experience of her life. But I enjoyed it.
Worst parts of it were the worst, and parts of it were.
She said actually parts of it were the worst, but parts of it were actually some of the best things.
There you go. That's the realism of it. Yes.
Right.
You know, yes, you can enjoy it, but Ryan, you have selective memory. Yes, of course there was nonsense and crap. You know, those mushrooms.
Yeah.
But it's that magic of it to say we can survive. Now, that doesn't mean that because I enjoyed it, I want to repeat it. No.
Right.
I enjoyed
but
it with absolutely nothing. But do I want to repeat it? No, not necessarily. Thank you very much. You know, there was like making the food on a fire that you had to make every day. That was a big pain in the butt. No, thank you very much. I don't want that again. You know, and all this kind of stuff. You know, the water.
It's a good experience, though.
Oh, it was a magical experience. I learned a tremendous amount. It was like going to university. It was graduation, really. It was more about testing what I knew. I was forced to implement what I'd learned. And I didn't really know myself at that time how much I was applying it. And then the situation changed when I made a list to say, what have I learned? Olivia and I did this together. What have we been forced to learn? That was the list. And it was 31 points. And when we made that, it was like, whoa, man alive. You know, we've been applying. And it made us realize that what we are doing has merit. What we are has validity. It was a self-proof test, and then it set us free, and then we just changed everything magical after that.
Even though by the world standards, it looks like you're not really doing much.
Exactly. But, man, we were just in the desert with nothing. We had rice every day. I've eaten rice in every possible way you can imagine because we love spices. So, you know, we had little when we went in there. We spent our last, it was $6 actually to be precise, and we bought rice with it. You can buy a lot of rice for $6. Well, back then.
You can buy a lot of rice.
I guess it would be the equivalent of probably, I don't know, $30, $40, something like maybe even $60 worth of rice. So it was a lot of rice that we had. But anyway, but Olivia had this big basket of spices. So I've eaten rice spiced and doctored and manipulated in every possible way you can imagine. And I never didn't enjoy the rice. Every single day it was, we have rice. Okay, cool. Rice today. It didn't matter. I enjoyed it every day. I never got sick of it. It was fantastic.
Well, because it was
I'm just
something
saying,
better
you
than
know,
nothing.
yeah, exactly. I'm just saying, you know, but as magical as that experience was, oh, there's so much to learn in that. It's in the young man's story. It's an incredible thing. Just so much. I mean, I'm just saying one aspect of it, but so much real magic. Like, oh man, like,
Uh-huh.
just too much. But anyway, again, do I want to do it again? No, not necessarily. Actually, we did do it
Right.
again. We did. When we came back, it was a different experience. We had a little bit more things, so it was a little bit more. But I don't even want to go back to it the way I went back to it because it was hot there and the flies and nah. So, but it was
Yeah, but you know
magical.
what? You had to go through that.
Oh, it was fantastic. Oh, and we knew it when we got there. Because attunement, we made a very deliberate effort to live with attunement, and everything led to that point. So when we drove out there, we didn't know. We just thought it was going to be more, and we got to this desert and the farm, and it's the middle of nowhere. The roof is blown off. It's completely desolate. It's nothing, and you can see there's no electricity and whatever. And then the movers, and there were two really different guys. Anyway, so they start up and they said, "Are you sure you want to stay there? We'll take you back for free, no charge, because it was a one-way move. We'll take you back, no worries. It's no problem." And every time they unloaded something, they said, "Are you sure you want to stay there?" They must have asked us literally, I don't know, 30, 40 times at least. Because every time they unpacked something, and we said, "No, we're sure." And I tell you one of the reasons too. I mean, there were many reasons, but we saw this afterwards. We used to have a map, and we always planned to stay on a farm, and we wanted to get out of the restaurant business and just go and live on a farm and do our own thing that we can learn and grow and progress and all this. Anyway, I said, where would be the ideal place to go and live? I don't want to be too close to the city, but you want it to be remote, but not too remote either. So I looked at the map, I looked at where the roads were, and I saw this one spot fairly close to the city, but there was not many roads there. And I said, there we go, that's the perfect spot. And it was this huge map. I mean, it's I don't know, like 5 foot by 4 foot or something. This big map, 6 feet maybe. It took up the whole wall. Yeah, 5 foot, wouldn't be 6 foot. Anyway, so this massive map, and I put my finger. It was right by the door, and I said, "Yeah, there's the spot." And I kept doing this regularly. And anyway, that farm ended up being on that exact spot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but there was many attunement reasons why it came about. I mean, that's we discovered that afterwards, but we knew we were there because of attunement. And when you go in, follow things through like that, you can't go back. You don't know what's coming, but you know it's right, and you follow that rightness. And it was a joy for us to be there. We didn't think it was a stress and a big deal. It was a joy. So, oh man, yeah, okay. So what? There's no water. There's no electricity. There's no toilet. There's no nothing. No, just water from a well. It didn't matter. We had fun. We had joy being there.
Yeah, you learn how to adapt.
Right. But it's because it was right because of attunement. So we'll get to
Right.
attunement later on. But yeah, it's a
That's
very,
like,
very big
well,
deal.
like in that camper when we were there.
Right? Say that again?
Like that camper when we were living in it, it didn't have a shower or anything that functioned inside. So we had a shower, an outside shower, like
Right. Right.
hooked up to a wooden post.
There you go.
And it got hot and everything. So you could go out when it was cold and take a
Yeah.
hot shower. And now you're
Right.
naked outside,
Right.
so you should be
Right.
okay with that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Same thing.
But you kind of just have to be okay with it. You're
Oh,
just
you have
like,
to
oh.
learn. And you learn so much that you don't know that you need to learn. It's incredible.
Yeah, and then you forget you're even showering naked outside with other people
Right.
around.
And also you get to apply, you get to apply things which you don't
Yeah,
know that you had learned, and that was magical. So we went into
yeah.
that knowing that this was an application that was coming. So we went
Mhm.
into that with that. So it was very exciting. Very exciting.
Now,
Very,
did we get off track of our reading a little bit?
a little bit, but it's all good. It's all good. All right, Bina, you want to continue?
No, it's
Too late.
quite late for
Okay.
me.
Oh,
So
it's late.
this
Done.
reading is so profound. What we are reading. This is a
But
very big thing.
we got so much out of it.
Yes, exactly. So
So
we'll
it's
continue
okay.
next time, whenever next time is.
Yes.
So, all right, brilliant, brilliant.
Sounds
I
good.
love it. I love it. What a magical, magical session. Fantastic. So a quick recap on it, right? For me, the thread, if I recap, the theme in the thread is about the rebirth and giving birth to ourselves and understanding that this is a necessity, right? And our
Yeah.
perfection of now is to understand that we are doing things one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Lena, you have a takeaway, recap takeaway
Yes,
here real quick?
yes. For me, because as you said before, as you shared, that one step at a time, and we can grow gradually towards at that point, because this rebirth is a huge deal. So
Correct.
for me, it is the first step is acceptance,
Yes.
openness, acknowledging,
Yes. Acknowledging.
and
Yes.
owning,
Yes.
and letting go of old beliefs and ideas,
Yes.
and making peace with my being. So these are the initial steps to
Yes.
giving birth to myself,
Yes.
or allowing universe to rebirth myself.
Yes. Yes. Brian,
Mm.
just a recap takeaway for you.
You know, my brain is like really mushy.
Okay. Okay. Then
Bina, you did a really good job. I don't know how Bina takes all this in, and she's like super tired, and she comes out with all that.
Bina's magical. Bina is magical. That's all I
I'm
can say.
I'm not there yet. Okay.
Bina's magical. Little by little we get there, man. Little by little we get there. You know. Yeah.
I'm working on it. No, I just keep thinking. You know, when you guys were saying all this the recap, I just keep thinking about, like you're saying, you know, we gotta like just take each step slowly, you know, one step at a time. I just kept thinking, oh, that's why they say baby steps, baby steps.
Yes. Yes. Slowly and thoroughly.
Literally, I'm taking baby steps.
Right. Exactly. We are
Baby.
practicing. We are practicing. We are practicing. Same
I
as
just
that
have to
baby.
pretend I'm a baby, huh?
Yep, same as that baby. They practice, they totter, they, you know, that's why they take baby steps, because they're finding their balance. They're
Well,
practicing.
you know, and I kind of, you know, I want all the characteristics a baby has. Maybe not all of them, but like just trusting, because babies
Yes,
trust,
yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
and they have humility. They have all these attributes, you know.
Right. So one of the intents of the way of impeccability, or if you say the way of impeccability, it is a program or a mechanism where we learn to be deliberately childlike with
Right,
deliberate sophistication.
right.
We're combining the two. We are taking the best of being childlike, and we are going to deliberately be that, live it, and own it. Like
Yeah.
capital T trust. This is one of the things of being childlike. You know, innocence, joy. We want to have those, but we want to be sophisticated as well. We don't want to be childlike without strategy. That'll get you run over by a car in a hurry, right? Or whatever, truck or something.
I think I'm gonna go take a nap too, so I'm with Bina.
Yes. All right.
Good.
All right. All right.
Yes, perfect
Most
balance.
excellent. Sleep
Yeah.
well, sleep well, sleep well, sleep well. Sleep angelically.
Okay.
Sleep
Oh
angelically.
yes.
Okay?
Bye.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.